and stuff. But yeah, I hope everyone's doing well. Okay.
Make
Uh,
sure when Lactoid arrives that you wish him a good, happy Canadian Thanksgiving, because today is
Mm,
Canadian Thanksgiving Day.
mm.
is it? Oh, great. Yes. And no, no. What do you guys celebrate that for? Like, I'm pretty sure I've been told before, but like,
I don't
you guys,
even. I just take the day off. But well, it's a national holiday,
It's
so
also a national
yeah,
holiday
yeah, but
here, a
like,
very important
you,
one, Columbus Day.
yeah, you don't know the story behind it?
I'm sure I learned it at some point. But that's like it's Canadian Thanksgiving, and in Quebec, you learn about Quebec history, not so much Canadian history. So,
Mm.
uh, I'm sure I learned about
Okay.
it at some point. But yeah, it's
All right. I feel like I talk to a lot of Canadians who don't know much about Canada. Like, um, it's like I've talked to because I've been I'm curious about Canada. Our neighbors to the north who every so often send us like really sexy models. Um,
and Justin
like
Bieber.
And
and
Justin
Justin
Bieber.
Bieber, right? And we give him priority, right? But yeah, so but like all the time, it's like people don't know anything about Canada. Like I feel like basic questions about Canada, and the Canadians cannot answer them.
No, well, I'm definitely not an expert on Canadian history, but like I think my knowledge of overall Canada's pretty good. I don't know what other Canadians you interact with. Obviously, I know Lactoid is one of them, but like aside from that, I don't know the other ones. But I'm
Yeah, so I've asked like Canadians, and not that I can't look this stuff up myself. I mean, I can, but like there's a Canadian in front of me. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll just ask this person, right? Um, like, hey, tell me how your court system works. Like a basic overview of what the court system looks, or how does your the basic structure of your government, like what does that look like? And nothing. So what is the basic structure of your courts?
I mean, I'm not even sure I can fully process the question in terms of like I don't know. I'm not familiar with like different like obviously I'm mostly familiar, not mostly, but rather
Sure. Okay. So in America, we got a judge, right?
Also, I
Sits
sent
on
you
the
a stream
bench,
together, Prime.
right? Sorry, what?
I sent you a stream together. If you want, it should be.
Oh, okay. Sure. Thank you. We got a judge who sits on a bench, and he's got uh, he doesn't wear a wig. That part's important. And we got a prosecutor, and we got a defendant's table, right? Like, and uh, the each defendant is guaranteed a lawyer, right? Under the law, right? Is whether that actually happens or you get quality representation is a different thing altogether, but that's guaranteed, right? The prosecutor represents the people, and judged by a jury of 12, usually. But yeah, 12 is that, and also like they are before you even get to that point, you have to be indicted by a grand jury, which is much bigger, which the prosecutor makes a case. And without like an opposing side, but they make a case for an indictment, then it goes off to the regular trial. So, what's the basic?
well. So again, correct me if I'm, 'cause obviously you're way more familiar with the American system, but it sounds like what you describe is like the federal court system, right?
No, not just the federal
Well,
court
not just,
system.
but rather it's. I understand, but like the whole grant, like I don't think every uh every judicial process goes through a grand jury. But correct me if I'm wrong, right?
Oh, of many of, I mean, well, these that's for criminal, that's for indictment.
Well, yeah, well, exactly. But that's where it's like there's the separation between like civil and criminal, right? Um,
Yeah, there's a
uh,
separation. So
yeah. So, and I can tell you my experience with the courts, and that's why like I think it largely echoes more or less. Obviously, you have states and we have provinces here in Canada, but we're still we have a federal government, we have provincial government, and all that. So it's more or less all the same branches, with the same three fundamental branches. Uh, but I can tell you my experience with that. As in, we have a Supreme Court that upholds the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. But then also, like, we have a non-withstanding clause that makes things maybe a little more complicated. But yeah, either way, I think it's. I don't know if it's specifically like a grand jury here for that process. I don't know the exact process in terms of like what happens for the criminal process, but I can tell you my experience with the court system in terms of like it seems like it largely echoes the American system, but I only know it from whatever, from a well during custody and legal disputes between parents and me as the child of said parents, where I had to go to court or be present in court because like essentially my mother was.
No, I got that part, but this is what I'm saying. Like, well, why don't you know more about your court system?
Well, because I don't I personally don't interface with it.
Well,
And also, we don't
I don't
really.
interface with the court system either.
Yeah, but I don't
Hold
know
on,
how
Brock.
rigorous.
That was the implication he was making. He was saying you interface with the court system a lot. Bad, Corey. Bad.
Absolutely. It was also a racial thing for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I didn't say it. He did.
No,
So-
but like, did I receive any formal training or education in our court system? No, I took like a Canadian history and a political science course. So that's how I maybe know a little bit more about it. But even then, you don't go into the weeds of like the actual process of like how it takes of all the
Did
steps.
I go in the weeds about the actual process?
No, you didn't. But you seems like you laid out pretty much a fairly specific process. And even then, I'm not sure how. I don't know how.
Was
Well,
that
I guess
fairly
wait till-
specific? I said
Well,
there
wait.
was
Well,
a
wait.
judge.
Till Factoid comes of like, is that process reflective of every single process?
Hold
that
on.
occurred?
I just get hold on, wait a minute. Sure. Like not I said, hey, like for instance, like mostly like you get like a 12 person jury, right? Most of the time, but that's not all the time. Like I didn't go into detail saying one, you can waive your right to a jury trial. You just have the judge do it, right? I didn't go into detail about how immigration courts work like in a very specific manner, which is different, right? Or talking about like FISA courts, right? Which is a whole another different thing. I didn't talk about any of that. I gave a very like simplified view of American courts, right? Of the way that most people interface with American courts, at least especially when we're talking about the criminal justice system, right? So like, why don't you know that thing for?
It's the same. I think the only difference is like it's when you say grand jury that like whatever indict someone. It's like the crown, and that's how it's usually like put in articles.
Yeah, they
like
call it
the
the
crown
crown. Yeah, that much I know.
chooses to like whatever.
Well, hold on.
prosecute or,
That's
you know,
not.
go through
We
the
do have
process.
that. We have that too. We have the state. So it'll say the state of Texas or the state is prosecuting somebody, or the U.S. government is prosecuting somebody. That's not the grand jury thing that he's talking about, though. That's like what
Well,
you're
yeah, that's when I would want to like.
When
I
you
thought-
say the crown, that's the
Yeah,
equivalent to us would be the
Yeah,
state.
the crown is
the crown is
yeah,
our federal government.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That
Yeah,
would
yeah,
be the
yeah.
equivalent. It wouldn't
Yeah.
be the grand jury thing.
Yeah, the grand jury is different. But I thought what he meant by that was that like the prosecution side, right? Like the grand jury, just when the prosecutor makes their case. So like that would be the crown in this portion, right? Yeah. But in the state and here in America. So okay, so you say that as far as you understand, the Canadian criminal justice system mirrors the American justice system, right? Again, we're not talking about every single
In many
type of
similar,
Canadian
like
case.
we literally have a Supreme Court
Okay.
with appointed judges that are lifetime. We have a Senate that are also lifetime appointments. If I remember, yeah, they are, because like that's been a whole thing of like we want to, or rather, there's a push to change the Senate because it's like they're like entrenched forever.
So Canada has a Senate. Is it so it's a bicameral
Yes.
body? Okay. So a Senate, and then what's the lower house called?
The House of MPs, members of Parliament.
Members of Parliament. Okay. What's the whole body called then? Is it Parliament? The whole body's called Parliament?
Yeah, Canadian Parliament. Yeah.
And then the lower
The
half is just
Westminster
called members
style of government, pretty much like the UK.
So then I'm a little confused. And then the lower, so the whole thing is called a Parliament. Then the lower house is called members of Parliament. Like what's the name?
Yeah,
of
they're
that house?
MPs. That's the of MPs, members of Parliament.
No. But that's their title. What's the name of the lower house?
If it has a form, I only know it as the Canadian Parliament.
So, but you said it's bicameral, right?
Yeah,
so,
there's a Senate. There's a Senate, and unless I'm not
So-
misunderstanding you,
Okay, here's how I'm trying to.
there's an upper house and lower house, right? Upper
there's
house
upper house
Senate,
and lower house,
lower
yeah.
house Parliament.
Sure. I'm saying in the United States, right? We have Congress, right? Congress is the name of our parliamentary body, right? The whole our legislative body, for no confusion, the legislative body, and then within the Congress, right? There are the two houses. There's the upper house being the Senate, the lower house being the House of Representatives, right? So I'm asking you what the names are of those two houses, right? So one is the Senate, you're saying, okay, fair. But what's the name of the second one? It's called it can't be members of parliament.
That's what they're referred to as, at least they're members.
No, but like, what's the name? Like in the House of Representatives, they're called representatives, right?
Parliamentarians? I may
No,
be
but
ignorant
what's
on
the
like the
name of the body, like the name of the house?
how
The
is it
name
not
of the house. So, like in the Senate, you would call them senators. I'm assuming, the Canadian senators, right?
Canadian senator?
So, like, but then the lower house that would have a name too, right? So they're called members of parliament, understood, right? But what like is are they both called parliaments? Like the full body is called a parliament, and then the lower house is also called parliament.
No, so maybe that's the distinction of like Parliament, generally speaking, is referring to members of that is not the Senate, as in like
Okay,
our upper house. As far
I
as
think it's the
I
Senate
know,
and the
like,
Parliament.
is there
that what you're saying?
Senate and
yeah,
then
as
there's
an
a parliament.
an MP is not a senator. Like that is I'm like 99%
Yeah, I
sure that is
understand
explicitly
that.
clear. And
I
so like
understand that part.
a member of Parliament is not a senator, and so like we just
So
refer
then,
to-
what's the name? Okay, then let's try this. What's the name of the legislative branch then? Maybe that's where the confusion. So, like, like I said, the Congress is the name of our, at least the head of our legislative branch, right? So then, what would be the name of the combined Senate and Parliament?
no, the Canadian Parliament. Like I'll look it up. I might just not know the term, but like at least everything that I have read, in terms of like the distinction of like upper house Senate, lower house Parliament, and
What
we have
about
members,
House? My
MPs.
chat says it's the House of Commons and the Senate, the lower House of Commons and the Senate.
Oh, yeah, that okay, yeah. Now the House of Commons rings a bell in my mind. They are those are the members of Parliament are yes, that's what it is.
So Canadians.
But no, like
Canadians.
in news article.
Yeah,
I
that's
find
gotta
that.
be a basic fact. Come on,
But you know
man.
what's funny, Prime, is you're right about this. I was talking to one of my buddies, Chip, the other day, and actually, now that I think about it, well, I've talked to Hot and Streamy too. Now, I will give them this: neither one of them were political streamers, but they were very. Let's go with they didn't really have a very good grasp on the history or the how the political organization of Canada went down either. Now that I'm thinking about it, like they were asking some questions, I'm like, you should probably know that. Like Canada, y'all are failing with your government education. Because we're doing so much better here.
The House of Commons is Parliament, like, and of the news articles that I read, like it's referred to. Well, they are used interchangeably, at least of the news articles I refer to. So, but yes, I guess the House of Commons would be like the formal name, but like that's where your members of Parliament are.
Right.
Yeah, but I knew that part. I was just looking for the name of the body, right? House of Commons, and that sounds familiar to me as well. So that it sounds believable.
Good job, chat.
Still, there. Yeah, thank you. Shout out to everyone. Give us chat there. But like, it feels like that would be like an easy thing to answer, though, right? House of Commons.
Oh well, I don't think I said anything like inaccurate. At least as far as I know, I just didn't because
you kept saying that you said no. You said the lower house. The name of the lower house was Parliament.
Well, I mean, I don't think that's explicitly wrong. Though.
Yes, people also use Congress interchangeably with the House of Representatives or Senate, right? When they're like, "Hey, Congress is messing up," they might actually mean the Senate's messing up, right? They might mean the House is messing up. They could be talking about either one of those things. That's true, right? But that doesn't change the fact they have a name.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know which one is actually more I assume the House of Commons is the more formal name, or like
It would
whatever
yes, it would have to be the more formal name.
the
Yeah,
title, but like
Parliament, two houses, Senate, according to you, right, and then House of Commons, according to Gibbs's chat. Like, if that's what I was looking for. It was a
okay,
basic
yeah,
question.
fair, but I don't think I got the structure wrong.
No, you didn't get the structure wrong. I didn't say you got the structure wrong. You didn't know the name of the lower
You are
house of your
correct in that
legislature.
moment. I did not recount House of Commons. I absolutely
Okay.
I cannot dispute
Like,
that.
I'm not trying to bust your balls here.
No,
Oh,
no,
he's
you can
busting 'em.
totally bust my balls.
He's busting them.
Just-
He's got the shillelagh.
Um,
He's whacking them.
Gibbs, can you send me like when I'm in my when I'm in the screen for the
Mhm.
combined calls, like it doesn't let me like get messages. Like,
Okay.
so if I don't initiate it myself, it doesn't let me get messages. So send me the code. Basically.
Okay.
Like
I will
that
just have to
link.
wait till we'll have to wait till Lactoid gets in there, because every time I try to do yours, it like I don't know why. There's usually the only one that does this. Maybe it's because you don't have me as a favorite or something. But I don't
do
know.
have you as a favorite.
Yeah, that's what it says on mine. But when I do it, it like makes you the host, which isn't a problem. But then it won't show any of the information for me until you join it. So like I can't just send you the code. So when Lactoid gets here, I'll just be able to. I'll send him the invite, and then I can just send you the code.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know. I've this is like the third or fifth time. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
They're still working out some of the kinks.
What are you doing? What are you doing with your hands?
I'm trying to get it moved back. It like zoomed in.
What the
I was
fuck
over
you
here like
doing?
it's like
You're,
I like
Gibbs is sending the code to attack.
well, it's crazy. I'll be able to talk with my hands. All of a sudden, it starts doing shit, and I'm like, no, I didn't want to do that.
I was like, so I look away from my screen and then I see your face up close. Go.
It's over here like
Monster Team 6, go.
yeah, bro. We got the Mule Team 6 more like, bro.
Sorry, I was very confused. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm still waiting for the rest of the crew. I'm gonna get there. I'm grateful for Gibbs and to Corey for being here, right? To help entertain, but like we're still waiting for half the panel. And hopefully they will be here soonish. Okay. So okay. I don't know if we should grill Corey anymore.
No.
Oh,
Grill away.
I don't it might not. And well, okay, what's the Prime Minister? Okay, the Prime Minister of Canada. Is there a second in command? Like we have a vice president. Is there anything similar office?
There is a structure. I can't honestly remember it offhand. It's there's no explicit like vice prime minister, but there's a second in terms of like because like it would be analogous to like if I remember correctly, like after the vice president of the United States, it's like the Speaker of the House.
Speaker of the House, yep.
Yeah, and so there is like a chain of command, but I can't remember it offhand. I think it is like literally somewhat analogous in terms of whatever. I can't remember it offhand. To be perfectly honest, I learned it at one point. Don't know it anymore.
Join new session. Join session. Am I in?
No.
No. Okay, hold on. Yeah, give me a second. Sorry, guys. We're just waiting. Please, patience for anyone out there. Thank you for being there. Really appreciate you. We're just, waiting on shit. Waiting on people. Let's go. Okay. Just waiting on individuals. Okay. Let's try this. Paste and go. Join session.
All right, you're in.
Okay. All right, great. All right.
I think it's not. They need to it's really cool feature, but it's definitely they need to fix the kinks.
Yeah, and like one, like it's limited the number of browsers that you can use, right?
Right, that's annoying too.
Um, yeah, and what I've done, I literally just for to handle this thing, I downloaded a browser extension. It's called User Agent Switcher, and it just allows you to switch what's called your user agent. That's your when your browser goes to a website and the website asks for it, like it'll send it a code basically tells it which browser it uses. Um, and what some websites do is like, oh, this feature isn't designed for your browser, right? And so they lock you out. But like if you just send it a different code, like it'll work just fine. So just like I send it like the Firefox code and it works like fine, even though I'm not using Firefox. Okay, so uh oh I guess I can't say that yet, because I'm waiting for Lactoid. All right, guys, we gotta figure out something to entertain the audience with while we're waiting for everyone else to join. Um Sorry, dear audience. And we have a tiny audience so far, but hopefully that'll grow. Um, so Gibbs,
Yes, sir.
why don't we start a fight? I feel like that'd be entertaining.
All right,
Uh,
I hate you.
uh,
I got one.
okay.
I got one.
Yeah, sure.
This is maybe like not as it's maybe just coded to me, but I have noticed before and after like big events that people like to try to start like drama with you. Like I don't know if it's psychological or and by you I mean the metaphorical you.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like so like we did the Tim Pool thing. As soon as we got back from the Tim Pool thing, people had opinions, and then I did this Destiny thing, and people have opinions, and then people like try to start new drama. Now like with TwitchCon coming up, it's like ramped up to 7, and I wonder what the psychology is behind that, because I've noticed, and I know that I'm kind of a controversial figure, but like I don't think it's just me that this is happening to. I think this is like a thing a lot of people have. Do y'all have thoughts on that? I mean, that's not really a fight, but it's more of an observation I've noticed in the last few days. I thought might be interesting to talk about.
Well, I don't go to many big events. But yeah, so I know it's starting
Okay.
a fight with me. I don't.
All right, well, never mind that one. Then we can fight about whatever you want to fight about.
Okay. Well, looks like people are finally showing up.
Lactoid. Here, I got one. Lactoid called me vapid. Did y'all know this? He called me vapid.
He called you vapid?
Right on right
Dude.
violence.
Not true.
What was the context?
Nothing. It was someone told me that people were talking smack, and he was like, "They're vapid." I was like, "That's a funny word choice for Gibbs." So I want to give Lactoid a hard time about it.
Okay. Well,
Can you guys hear me okay?
yeah, we can hear you.
I deny all allegations. I did not call Gibbs vapid. This is slander upon my name. I would never do such a thing.
He was dressed up like a wizard while he was doing it too. Might have been a grand wizard. We're not sure.
I didn't say it. I didn't say that. But now I'm hearing an echo. It's
It was definitely me. 100%
It's
me.
definitely you. I'm still hearing it.
Yeah, hear it for a little bit.
Yeah, we gotta work on that. So I just to Lactoid, just so you know, I did see the Fantastic Four movie.
Oh, you did. It's not on Disney Plus yet, is it?
No.
Oh, okay.
But
You saw it on Disney Plus Plus.
I channeled your Chinese ancestors, and
You saw it in Mandarin or Cantonese.
Sorry, what?
So you saw it in Mandarin or Cantonese then?
In Mandarin Cantonese is what I did, right? That's what I did. I channeled and I saw it on Papyrus is what I was saying previously. It's a streaming service called Papyrus. But anyway, Lactoid. You said you didn't like it because you thought it was unfunny, or
Bad performances, I think he said.
Yeah, I didn't think it was funny. I thought it was bad performance. I thought the acting was subpar. The only good thing that I liked about it, and now that you've seen it, I can say this. The only good thing about it was like the atmosphere that they kind of created, like kind of like retro 1960s kind of thing. That was kind of cool. Everything else sucked.
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was great. That was fantastic.
Wow.
I thought the jokes landed. I don't think it was extremely quippy movie. I thought but what was there? I thought was solid humor. I thought the drama was solid. I thought there was like some plot holes or plot contrivances. I think is probably better to say. To like get things going. Like it was weird. The thing that because our friend Corey hasn't seen it, but like Reed when he
You
gets
can
back to
spoil it. I
Earth,
don't care.
yeah, I care about spoiling people. But Reed when he gets back to Earth,
I'm not a person, so
he says a thing and it sets the whole world on fire. And I'm like, why did he do that? That didn't make any sense. Why would you say that? Like that's obviously going to cause like a huge panic. Why would you do this? It was like that. It's like if they
It
were
was
going to
cheesy.
do that plot line, right, which I think is a solid plot line in itself, like I would just would have like had the bad guys announce, oh, this is our our offer, right? Our like you'll take this or you'll die, right? Like if the bad guy just like announces that to the world, okay, then that works, right? But Reed Richards saying it and like causing that issue, like that just like bothered the fuck out of me. Like, why would you do that? So stupid.
Yeah,
But
and his
beyond
wife
that,
is
no,
like
I
the
thought the
best
performances.
diplomat of all time. Like, you don't think she'd be like, hey, before we get down there, just maybe thoughts. Don't say
Yeah,
this shit.
thoughts.
Like,
Don't say the obvious thing that to not say. Don't say the one thing that's going to cause global panic and global hatred of us. Just don't say that one thing, and we're fine.
I thought they did a decent job
Wow.
with Galacticus, though. Like, I think he's kind of a hard
You mean
like villain.
Galactus?
Yeah, Galactus. I think he's a hard villain to do.
that's the Timo version of Galactic.
Yeah, Timu Galacticus. That's the Chinese version. Anyway, yeah, but he did. I thought they did a decent job making him like believable in the MCU, which is supposed to be like more grounded. Like compared to like the comics where he's just like wild and out. I thought it was decent.
And I thought it was good. Yeah, I thought pretty much everything there was good. I just don't like. I was like holding my breath because of what Lacto told me. But like I thought it was definitely a solid movie. I'm not saying it's a perfect movie, but like one of their better ones, I think actually.
Better or
Um,
worse than Thunderbolts?
That's a good question, actually.
Worse.
Thunderbolts is a different field, but I think Thunderbolts is like more entertaining in terms of like funny, right? But in terms of like the entire movie, I think Fantastic Four actually might work better. But
All right. I'm trying a different mic to hopefully because the StreamYard's changed. How do I sound? Do I sound okay?
yeah, you sound good.
Different, but okay.
Yeah.
Different, but okay. All right. This one I can just very easily. It's like a little push to talk thing by flipping it up. So
Yeah. Cool. All right. So why don't we just get started? We're still waiting on another person. But why don't we just get to it? Okay. So, hey everyone, thanks for being here. For our audience members, I really appreciate it. Sorry that it's taking us so long. And usually we're pretty good at stalling, but this was not not the day for that. This was a rough day.
what was your favorite part about the movie?
Okay. Favorite part about the movie?
One sentence.
It's hard for me to distill. I thought. I think I think for the most part the beginning part, like the first act, really worked well, like establishing the characters. I like the fact that they didn't do a Batman, right? They didn't walk us through the alleyway, right? Where his parents die again. That fucking alleyway that everyone who
There's
has
no
heard of
pearls
Batman-
dropping.
the pearls dropping. Yeah, we don't have to do that again, right? They just like gave us like 2 sentences that explain their background, which is super easy to do, right? Spaceship, radiation, powers, done, right? And move on with it. And I just love the fact they didn't do what this is definitely the best of the Fantastic movies that have been produced, which is like 4. This is the best one, like by far, like by far. The last, well, I can't remember the second one, the one that Fox did, the first one that Fox did. I'm trying to remember how that went, but it had Doctor Doom in it. And I forget if
Yeah,
his powers related
the
to
one that with the guy from Nip Tuck, the one that just died. The actor that
Yes.
played- yeah,
Yeah. Oh my god, I love that actor. Fuck, he was so good. I love
He
him
was
so
so good.
much. But yeah, I forget what the backstory is. It's been so long since I saw that movie. Did he get his powers with the Fantastic Four in that one?
Yeah, they all
Like,
go. Victor Doom like funds their little mission, and they go, and he's on the
Yeah,
outside of
that
the
one.
ship or something, and that's why the metal like attaches to him, and then that's why they got all their bullshit was like inside.
Yeah. Thank you for reminding me of that. And then there was the one what fans call Fan Four Stick, which is just because of the way the title was created. But that the reboot they did, with the Black Johnny Storm, which is the easiest way to refer to that one, really. That one also, right? Like, oh yeah, he got Doctor Doom shows up in the first fucking movie, and he gets his power in the same way. So he's like an evil inverted version of them. That's bad. That's really bad, right? Like my favorite part of Fantastic Four is for what it wasn't. It wasn't a cheap setup, right? Just to get Doctor Doom on screen. Doctor Doom is a fantastic villain, like a really great villain, but he deserves space. He deserves the opportunity to actually establish himself, right? And put some work into his actual origin, right? Rather than, hey, let's get him on screen as fucking fast as possible. So now he goes up in the spaceship with them, and he gets their powers, or in the Fan Four Stick one, where they go to another dimension because they want to update it, right? And then there's an accident there, then he gets their powers. It's like crazy nonsense, right? And they ruin Doom every time when they do that, because it's just he just becomes, he's some sort of inversion, right? He's an inversion enemy, right? And they just got team together and be family, and they'll beat him. It's like he's so much more than that. He's so much more than that, right? So they did a smart thing, and they didn't put Doom in there, right? Doom isn't the enemy, so he's pushed aside. And instead, they had a far more easier to grasp an enemy show up, Galactus, right? He eats worlds. That's what he does. He eats the planets, right? Doesn't even that much more intro, right? That's just what he does. I would have done a bit more explanation on him, because there's a bit more to him, but still, that's fine. It's fine. Like, for what they're trying to accomplish, for establishing the characters, right? For the focus on the family, right? Because that's what we really we establish the dynamics, we establish their powers, we establish their teamwork, right? All that's done, and so for the next movie that they're in, now that we've accomplished that, we can focus on Doom. We can focus on the larger conflict. Makes much more sense. So that's why I really liked about the story. That's really why when I was watching it the whole time, that's what I was thinking of. Oh, it's not like the other ones, which were really bad.
The one thing I didn't like, though, that I think is the real thing. I think you're right about the Doom thing. Like, Doom's definitely way better as a nuanced villain, and so I don't mind him just getting the last minute appearance at the end, especially if they
And he
built
needs
him.
time to breathe.
Right, but the one thing I didn't think they did badly was and you mentioned this just now, kind of, is when they should have explained Galacticus a little more, and because they talk about the power cost. Yeah, I keep saying it, bro. I'm just gonna keep happening. I don't know why, but
it's fine.
The Franklin Richards thing. They're like, with the power cosmic, they should have gone into more about why that's important, and because then they kind of touch on it again when Doom shows up at the end, like creeping on the baby, and it's like, why is this power cosmic thing so important? And if you read any of the rumors, the idea is now he's going to be going and collecting people with the power cosmic so that he can become God Emperor Doom, and I'm like, well, yeah, that'd be great if they'd explained any of what the power cosmic was. At all, but they didn't do any of that.
Yeah, they didn't explain it. Fair enough. And also,
but that's a pretty minor
not what
thing.
he has, and he doesn't really have that in the comics, which is fine, right? They can change it. The point is, he's a space god.
Yeah,
no, that's
how he gets there is not super important.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
It is a little bit
because he's not a mutant. Yeah, because he's not a mutant anymore. It seems, or maybe they'll retcon that whenever with like the X-Men come in. So
Well, yeah,
don't
I
know
guess
how
they
they're gonna
have
handle
to
that.
though, because in the comics, I might be wrong, but if I remember, it starts off with like the Grandmaster and I can't remember the other guy's name. The Celestials are kind of fighting, and then Doom tricks them and takes their powers, and then he becomes like the battle world. Like God damn it, zooming in again.
Whoa.
Yeah, but yeah, well, it's gonna keep doing that. So yeah, that's gonna be a running theme. Is things are just gonna keep happening over here. Comedy errors, but yeah, I don't like. Yeah, so I guess they have to change it somehow because they're definitely not doing that. The Grandmaster's way weaker in the MCU than he is in.
Yeah. So let's get to
Yeah, I
thing.
thought one last thing. I listened to your opinion. I respectfully disagree that I think the movie was ass. But a happy Columbus Day, everybody. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
amen. Happy Columbus Day.
Canadian
Happy
Thanksgiving.
Indigenous Persons Day. Shout out to my Native American friends, right? Shout out to the people who've struggled to fight their oppressors, right? Who look like, well, other members of my panel don't look like me.
Spanish?
Spanish.
Or
Spanish?
Italian?
Spaniards.
Spaniards and otherwise. But and of course we spit on the graves of your oppressors, especially Columbus. We shit on his grave specifically. He was a monster. He was an enslaver. He was a torturer. He was all the worst. He was like literally all the worst parts of colonialism rolled up into wine, right? Like he really outdid himself.
Don't get anti-Semitic, Prime.
Well, is it fun? Is it really funny? Is he Jewish actually? Does he have
Yeah, he
Jewish
is. He's
heritage?
Sephardic.
Oh no. Okay. Well, that it all. Okay, no, I'll say it.
It's a mixed bag. Colonialism. If you were an oppressed people under the Aztecs, then you really like Cortez. But if you're an Aztec, you don't like Cortez. It's really in between.
I mean, like, but the okay, well, I don't know enough about like the Spanish conquest of South America to comment, but it would seem to me that when the Aztecs came in, they may have when the Spaniards came in, they may have knocked over the Aztecs and then just replaced them with their own brutal system. So, but again, I don't know enough to
Slightly less brutal. They weren't sacrificing.
But, fair enough. They'll just work you to death. Yeah, but they will do that. But yeah, so shout out to all those who've suffered under the chains of colonizers and who overthrew them. This is your day.
And you're welcome for the Xbox.
From the colonizers, we'll take everything else from the colonizers one day too. But yeah, so we can get into it. Oh, speaking of colonizers, yeah, we got a whole topic on this. So I'm going to read you the topic as I wrote it, but like I didn't rewrite this. I should have rewritten it. In a recent YouTube video, it's not recent. A journalist lays out the extractive practices the tourism industry is employing in the Mexican regions of Oaxaca. Yeah. This region is suffering from severe droughts, and the aquifers are now routinely running dry. The local residents are forced into a severe water rationing regime. However, the hotels that cater to foreigners are simply buying access to water and placing zero limits on their guests. Furthermore, the residents are being pushed out due to gentrification. Do you think that tourism capitalism impoverishes disadvantaged locals in regions around the world? Is tourism mostly beneficial? Should tourism look different than when resources are scarce? And is gentrification a problem we should care about? Okay, so this is a topic I came up with last year, but I've been meaning to do it. But
I've watched this video twice now.
Had to watch it. It's a good video though. It's a good video. Like, and since like I mean, I found that video when it's fresh, but since then, 1.7 million people have watched it. Like, it's blown up. It's fairly viral on YouTube. A very well done video. about for this journalist. She does this great reporting, and she talks about how like within Oaxaca, it's spelled in the so weird, extremely weird way. But within this region, um, the reservoirs, the dams that they used to hold water for the region, they were drying out. Just because there hasn't been as much rain, right? Maybe that's a climate change related thing. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how often that happens in that particular region. But one or the other, the reservoirs were dry. The government would only, in some cases, send water through the pipes, like through the public infrastructure system, like once, like every like 30 days, like one day out of 30. So like imagine that. Imagine like you're like going to your water, like go to your faucet, right, and turning your faucet, and that just always being dry, right? Nothing coming out of that, except for once a month. Like the people in this region have had a whole list of strategies to try to conserve water, to reuse water, because you're really not getting any more of it. So the only other way to get your hands on water is to buy it, right? There's the reservoirs, but beyond that, there's like a water table, like a watershed, that can be tapped. And so private drillers like drill down into it and extract some water, put in tanks, and then send it off to buyers. This is obviously far more expensive than getting it through the public infrastructure system. A lot of the people within Oaxaca cannot afford to do this system, and so they're left high and dry. And furthermore, tapping this aquifer, right? That like has also other disastrous consequences. Like it runs low; it's not an infinite source, so it runs low. Sometimes there's not nothing left. The people who can afford it are the hotel chain. So the hotel chains that go to foreign guests go to it. Americans show up there and people from other places. They go to they don't have any problem getting water, right? They get tankers full of it because they can pay. Like always going to their properties. And then furthermore, and this is the last part, there's an aspect of gentrification in that as tourism has picked up, right? It has made the property prices within the city center go up. So like people who could live there in the city center where these hotels are, they can no longer afford it, right? And so they have to move out. So the very people who work at those hotels can't afford to live anywhere near those hotels anymore, and have to move out to the suburbs, or I don't know, the outer borough regions any which way, and drive back in to get to work, right? So it's all these things are coming together in this region, and people are wondering, well, is this fair, right? Should should the tourism industry be able to take these resources in the way they do? Do we want as many tourists there, right? They are providing jobs, but do we want that? Is it worth the cost? That's some of the things we're hopefully we'll be discussing. So if our friend Lacto, work our way around.
All right, so I'm gonna talk about specifically Oaxaca, and then we're talking about the principle of what's going on here. So, tourism is a major, where I guess the principle is there's nothing wrong with this. Obviously, the tourism industry is particularly important for Oaxaca. If you know, but because of the amount of water that they're purchasing, they're able to get better deals from providers, obviously, and they're providing that to tourists at obviously a huge markup, booning the economy in the local area. Removing that is going to have a whole bunch of negative impacts. It's going to disrupt free trade, which I know people here really don't care about. I care about it though. But I think more importantly, it's going to I think gives it your hot miking a little bit, just so you're aware. You're good. And I think I guess more important to this panel is it's going to disrupt the local economy. Tourism is about 30% of the commerce portion of the city's economy, or the region's economy, which comes out to roughly, I have it here, it's like 11 something percent. Yeah, 11% of the overall economy of Oaxaca. That's a major portion. You can't just cut 11% of a region's economy and not expect there to be massive problems. I know you wouldn't have to cut all of it. This wouldn't disrupt the full 11%, but even a few percentage points can cause issues in an already kind of economically destitute area. I also found out that most of the water is being used for agriculture, like the vast majority, like over 70%, almost 80% is used for agriculture, with less than 20% being used for, the residents and tourists in these massive hotels. A lot of the agriculture that they're growing includes, not even staple foods, right? A lot of it goes into agave, which is used for mezcal, alcoholic beverages. Again, because one of the ways to lift a economy out of subsistence agriculture, which is bad for the people there, is for them to develop kind of an export economy first and then transition into a surface economy. And so the question is, well, is tourism really the problem here? Well, if we look at total water usage, no. If we look at the overall effect on the economy, it's a boon. Why are people kind of upset with the tourists? And it's because, the tourists pay a shit ton of money to go there, and the people there don't have that much money to pay for the exact same things that they could, go and, they could, I guess, pay for the hotel if they wanted to, but they just don't have the money to do that. And so there's this perceived kind of inequity. A huge problem in Oaxaca is that the pipes are leaky and poorly serviced. So I think that a much better idea would be to fix that as opposed to disrupt a major section of the region's economy.
Thank you so much, friend. Let's go to our buddy Gibbs.
Yeah, so actually covered a lot of what I was going to say. Things in Oaxaca, they do produce, Oaxaca cheese, produce a shitload of that. Part of the reason for the tourism is people like to see the cheese farms. You also have you mentioned the agave and all the good tequila factories that are in Oaxaca. Those are also big tourist attractions. And finally, you have what is that? I believe it's the Zipotec and the Mixtec ruins, a group of people that were conquered by the Aztecs. But they have a long history in Mexico and have some pretty cool ruins that are unique to both. And those are kind of the big things that back tourism. But we actually have this situation happening in Texas. So I'm going to kind of focus it back a little bit here to Texas for a second and compare the two situations. In Corpus Christi, for example, they built a desal plant. And 80% of the water that's going to be coming from that desal plant is going to areas outside of San Antonio and Austin. And the people in Corpus Christi are going, hey, fucker, we need water. We built this on our tax dollars, and now it's all going to be going over here. And I guess the city benefits, but the taxpayers aren't going to get any kind of benefit. And so they promised with that money they're going to build another desal plant. And so, which leaves a whole different environmental questions on how the desal plant's going to affect, the marine life. That's one thing. We also have a big issue outside of what's it called? Outside Houston, they're draining the water aquifers there and shipping that water over to the same areas outside San Antonio and outside of Austin, and it's very much affecting the agriculture, right, in both these areas. Unless you pay premiums, you're going to be fucked on water, and this is part of the reason why, I always talk about beef prices being so high, is grass-fed beef is one of the only beefs that right now that is insulated against the grain costs that are going all so high right now. And whenever you don't have water for the grass to grow because the aquifer's dry, that's going to increase beef prices substantially. And then you have this kind of this little disparity between new people moving into those areas needing water as they live in the suburbs, live in the inner cities, and all these different things. However, you need all the ranchers and the people that have lived here for decades now suddenly don't have water. And I think it's a real concern. I think that Lactoid brought up a good point, or an interesting point, where it's like, there's this perceived disparity between the tourists and the people that live there in Oaxaca, right? And I think that this is kind of an interesting thing, because in reality, it should be a battle between which industries do you want to go further. Tourism industry in Oaxaca is basically capped out. right? There's not going to grow that much more, as the way I understand it. However, they can transition more into more ag production with new tech, with better farming tools as they become more industrialized. And I think that there needs to be some real on the ground works by their government to get the piping fixed, to prioritize where the water's going, because it is mostly going to the agriculture areas, which I need it. However, at the same time, you have these people blaming the tourists when they're making up a very small percentage because they pay. And I think that there's one other factor that we have to look into here, which is that nobody here is, well, I guess it's only me and I could have gone so far, but it's the corruption element. Oaxaca is very close to the southern part of Mexico, which is very much in deep with several cartels, specifically the Sinaloa cartel, and they have much more control over that area than they do the border along this place, where it's broke up into different plazas, right, amongst different cartels. And I think that's something people need to look into, because Oaxaca and Sinaloa both have had different governors that have been owned by the cartel. And I think that the real issue, the root cause, is the corruption, because you're going to pay for the pipes to get fixed, and it's just going to go into the pocket of the cartel. And I think unless they get that fixed, there's not going to be a real solution down there.
Thank you so much. And next we'll go to our friend Corey. Corey, thank you for resubbing for 29 months. Being a homie like that. I really appreciate you. Anyone else consider supporting the channel? Sub to the channel, give bits or give subs. Resub if you do. We have a few resubbers, and your continued support means a lot. So shout out to them. Just wanted to take that opportunity. But Corey, please.
Well, thank you for putting up with me for at least 29 months, if not more. I think it's more like 36 to 48 months. But yeah, I'm grateful to be here. So I'll try to keep it brief in terms of, so I think tourism on the whole, like, is good, but I have my own, we'll get into the open panel, but I have my own complicated thoughts about it. But like, yeah, I think overall there's clear downsides to tourism. And I think from what I understand, there's depending on certain regions, there's sort of like this backlash to tourism for a variety of reasons. I think like Spain is having a lot of protests in regards to tourism, and I think Italy as well, as a result of this gentrification. And also like from what I observe, and also, you know, I live in a major Canadian city. Montreal receives a lot of tourism, and especially American tourists. And American tourists are awful in my experience. They come here because we have a lower drinking age. 18. But our economy definitely is, a lot of it is driven by receiving tourists, like American tourists. They do spend a lot of money here, just as many Canadians spend a lot of money in the United States. So there's absolutely some benefits to tourism and travel. But I think the way that it's implemented is overall really poorly. I don't know exactly how to change it. I think most tourists overall, in my experience from what I've observed, are pretty disrespectful. Especially when it comes to, I think now with influencer culture, most people just want to like go and take fancy pictures and have no respect for anything that's going on, and will even go out to like whatever, either deface or like, you know, just destroy certain things, which I don't think is a good thing. But all that to say, do I think should tourism look different overall, even under scarce resources? Yes. Do I know what that looks like? No. I don't actually know what the answer is, other than, you know, maybe limiting. I would say maybe one thing that maybe Quebec does do well, although there's some clear costs in terms of, we have language laws here, and so it's like, well, if you want to come here and you're going to, you know, not that you're obligated to speak French, but we sort of enforce our culture, like literally, at least the language aspect of culture. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, there is clearly debate here in Quebec all the time about that. But, you know, I think there are some pros to that, even though I'm Anglophone and I pay huge costs as a result of these language laws. But yeah, maybe something in that direction, or I can see that as maybe something to do, some way to enforce certain cultural aspects. But I'll leave it there for now.
Thanks so much. Let's go to our friend Ali, who just joined us. Nice to have you, friend.
Yeah, perfect timing too. I love that, walking right into Lactoid's intro. Yeah. Listen, tourism is good for the city, right? It's going to make money. Money is usually good for the city, but then the issue is the citizens don't really benefit much from this money. They kind of just get fucked over and then they leave, and we're like, that's an issue that is going to be like, oh, who cares, right? It's kind of I'm pretty sure Lactoid and Gibbs are just going to hit us with, well, it's a skill issue, right? Until we have people that leave and then they look and then they come here, right? They come here illegally. They look around. They're like, well, the Americans pushed us out so they can have their resorts on our land. And have their vacations and stuff. Well, then they come here, and then you guys complain that they're here. So it's like we can't just be blind to this issue. We can't be blind to people being pushed out and displaced from their homelands, so that we can have nice vacation times. And I think that's one way or another we're going to have to deal with it, whether it be the refugees, the illegal immigrants, whatever you want to call it, or like we try to figure out a solution where there's a middle ground where
on the edge of ring.
The citizens can
covering
also
you.
benefit from the tourism.
Okay, thank you so much. And I'm very happy to have my friend Doobie here, who is our Mexican correspondent. We
Direct on the
did-
ground.
direct on the ground. We didn't have him here when I first wanted to do this. That's why I didn't want to do it then. I want to have my friend Doobie, but he's here this time. Shout out to him. Love to hear what you have to say about this.
I think, well, actually, something interesting, Prime, that I don't think you know. Okay. So, Mexico actually isn't. It's actually, to the people living there, it's not called Mexico. They were called the Mexicans, right, with an H. So I think that's where the you said Oaxaca is spelled strangely. And I think that's why, because the X is actually like an H sound. But that aside, and there's no particular reason I know that. That aside, fuck you. I think I semi-agree with both like Lactoid and Gibbs and Ali, and I semi-agree with everybody. I think, yes, tourism is beneficial, but I do think at some level, you need to consider what the tourism is for. Is it to make the hotels money, the politicians money, the tourism industry in this area money, and people invested in this to make the money, or is it to make the city or the state of Oaxaca better for the people living there, right? And I think if it's lopsided, and this is with anywhere obviously, if it's lopsided and the residents are suffering, so that the tourists can keep coming in to make these hotels and these business owners money, well then it's not serving the people of the area, right? So I think that you need to put policies in place to balance that a bit. And here, I mean, you could do something as simple as like put caps on, how much water they can buy. If there's a drought, don't let them buy additional water. And yes, this is going to lead to them needing to ration water at hotels, maybe not power wash the patios every day. Maybe they don't get to have a swimming pool, right, to dive in. But if that's going to scare away tourists, this provides an incentive to the business to invest in things for the area, to push politicians in the area to do something about the water issue. Right? To find some way to fix this issue. If it's leaky pipes, invest in that, fix leaky pipes. Right? If it's the non-essential crops, okay, we'll figure out some way to deal with this so we can use more of that water for the people. Right? So I think you just need to provide the incentives for the business owners and the politicians there to get off their ass and actually do something to benefit their people.
I like it. All right. Open to the panel.
I'd like to ask a question on that last part. If you would be able to override, like if you're going to be able to have enough popular movement to override the hotels to push for water caps on hotels, why would you need the hotels to push for fixing the water supply? Why wouldn't you just use that political capital that you already just got to instead fix the pipes and then everybody gets water?
Because I think as individuals, people don't really have much political capital, but I think that this tourism is a big industry, right, in this area. So if there is a fear that tourism is going to be impacted and they're going to lose out on money, not just tax money coming into the area, but also these businesses are going to lose out on money. I think in many cases, unfortunately, business owners with lots of money have a much easier time influencing politicians and getting things done than the average person does, even if there are a lot of average people.
No, I hear
especially
that,
especially in Mexico.
But here's the problem again. So if the business owners are good at getting stuff done, obviously they're going to be putting all their political capital against these water caps on their hotels, because if you put water caps on these hotels, they are going to lose money, right? There's going to be more issues attracting tourists, right? And so the political capital of the hotels is already against this. And so if you're going to have enough political capital to override that, if you're going to be able to rally the people to override the hotels and start capping this water, well, if you have that much political support anyway, why not just instead try to fix the pipes?
But you could do both at the same time. You could do both at the same time. So if the pipe issue, I'm sure, would take a long time to deal with anyway, right? So I would say do both at the same time. And while the pipe issue is being fixed, and while the issue with the non-essential crops is being fixed, and they're figuring out how to get more water for people, then yeah, you need to have caps on these hotels and other businesses that are purchasing water that would otherwise be on like residents.
And then, I mean, I understand what you're saying. I just don't understand how it seems like you're thinking that getting them, like, you're gonna get the power of the hotels on your side, to like push the government to do the right thing.
Well,
but
you're not going to
to
get the power of the hotel. Well, this is what y'all are factoring in, right? So after 2007, when the Oaxaca cartel got fucking basically disbanded because their leader got taken over, the Sinaloa cartel and the Zetas, who broke away from them, right, took over a lot of this, right? And now I can't prove this, right, but I can look at historical trends. The Sinaloa's cartels in the 80s, in the early 90s, all the way through the 2000s, we know one of the things they like to invest in more than almost anything else is hotels, right? So if I had to wager, and I was a gambling man, and not that I've ever gambled before, I would put my entire life savings on the fact that the Oaxaca, that Sinaloa and the remains of the Oaxaca cartel and some of these other cartels own or partially own these resorts, right? The other thing I think you need to factor in, especially when you talk about the Sinaloa and the Oaxaca cartel what remains of it, is that these are poor southern farmers that form cartels initially to sell marijuana, right? So they are already entrenched in the ag game out there. And this is going to be a major impediment to anybody trying to change any public works programs out there, like rebuilding the pipes. That's why you can't just build a desal plant, which is already questionable environmentally wise. This is why you can't just say it's the tourist fault, because what they're doing is they're trying to get these hotels up, and then they're going to have to get tourists come down. And some of these tourists, small percentage, are going to be people they're trying to woo to be like their actual money launderers or their investors they don't know. And it's all part of their game. And then you're going to woo your local leaders in the area. You're going to take them to your hotels. It's all a game, right? The cartels are entrenched in Mexico. They've been entrenched since Mexico basically has been founded. They've always been corrupt. That's been a cultural trait of Mexico since as long as it's history right? And I just don't know when you're saying, I think, and this is why I brought up the Texas thing. Because even if you get rid of this cartel issue that I think that we're not really focusing enough on, that's going to be tied into this corruption area, is you still have the problem of the agriculture needs this water. And this is your biggest industries, right? You have the cheese, you have the tequilas, you have the mezcals, and then you have another large industry that I think is capped out. I don't think they're going to increase tourism unless something new gets built out there anytime soon. I think that this doesn't solve that problem. I think the gentrification stuff is a problem that's related to both of these, but I don't know how you solve this conundrum of both of them needing the water, and then you have the corruption factor built on top.
Why couldn't they increase tourism?
Well, okay, so the reason I say tourism is capped out is, once again, it's because of the public works programs. Unless you get a bunch of these people together and they build, a new stadium, or they bring a new pro team down there or something, I don't see tourism going. Because right now, tourism is mainly for the beaches, the historical sites, and a few other traditional things that are in the region, right? Like the cultural flair. I don't see it suddenly becoming a new tourist hotspot where they build, the Superdome de Mexico in Oaxaca, right? That's not something I've even seen on the line. The other exception
run
would
its
be
course as a new tourist location.
Yeah, it's like an old. The only exception would be is if they do this new Panama Canal thing, and it ends up going where it's the rail Panama Canal through Mexico, which I have doubts about that ever actually coming to fruition. But then, even then, I don't know if that would be a tourist thing. That would seem more like that'd be an industry thing. Versus, we know the ag industry can grow a lot because they don't have that shit mechanized at all. And I mean, just seeing the mechanized gains here in the United States, I would think that they could increase yields a lot, which would then turn around and increase the need for water quite a bit. So I don't really know what the solution is. I think that if you would need to focus on the ag, if I was them personally.
Well, if what you were saying is that the cartels or whatever are owned into these resorts and these hotels, then wouldn't Doobie's point would make more sense that why shouldn't we then force the hotels to pay a little bit of the water, or try to at least, right, incentivize it in that.
Well, how do you get rid of them when they're Sinaloa, for example?
You don't have to get rid of it. You just have to try to
Right,
Try
but I
to,
guess what I'm saying is I can't speak for Oaxaca's government, like local regional government. I can speak for Sinaloa's, and I know they're the predominant cartel in the region now, right? They are notoriously have the governorship of Sinaloa in their pocket, right? That's like that guy is a cartel bad guy, 100%. Like I'll
So
I'll
then you
bet
should
my
be
life.
anti-tourism, right?
Sure.
Because
Well,
these
no, they like
places are funded by
tourists.
the cartels.
No,
No,
cartels
you
love
should be
tourists.
anti-tourism because you don't want to support the cartels.
But this is every industry, Ali. Like
Every
Yeah.
industry is owned by the cartels.
They're like they're in, well, they got their fingers in all the
cartels.
pies.
Yeah, the cartels have infiltrated almost every industry in Mexico.
They're like quasi governments,
especially these areas. And so, like, if you want to, like, there is, I guess, an argument you could like destroy the Mexican economy and then try to rebuild it without the cartels. But then we're just talking about airstrikes, which maybe Gibbs wants to talk about. I
think you'd be surprised what my solution for this would be.
I'm not convinced that tourism is like this kind of capped industry, or that it's particularly like, or it's like less important than. I mean, it's obviously like it uses less water than agriculture. Like,
well, how do you see tourism ramping up in Oaxaca? Like specifically, like it's not like it's Tulum. It's not like
how do you get more people to go? Like there's a lot that goes into that.
It is growing. I mean, I just looked it up. I mean, it is growing.
Sure,
so,
I mean, I think if there's a cap
going.
that you're going to reach compared to those other industries where there's no cap.
I mean, there's like a theoretical cap for any industry.
Sure, but I guess what I'm saying is, what's more likely to like increase like all of a sudden? Are you going to start? You can only increase like by so much if you go on a media blitz and build the infrastructure, and then have these people come for the beaches and the historical sites, right? It's not like you're going to suddenly become the new Tulum overnight, right? You're not going to become the new Tahiti. It's Oaxaca, right? Like just like South Padre Island in Texas is massive, but it's never going to be like, I don't know, Panama City in Florida, right? Like you're always going to pick the better one if you can, right? So when you're saying like, there is a cap, right? Even if they build a cruise ship port right there, like you're going to go and there's going to be a certain amount that it reaches versus with like these ag industries, and then they can build a secondary production stuff there. I think that's a much more lucrative, although it's also going to take way more of the water, like.
Yeah, I think both are. I don't think. I think that if we're talking about an economically destitute area like Oaxaca, and that you're trying to get people out of subsistence farming, and you're trying to get like any kind of area of the world that struggles, you can look at this in two ways. You can say, okay, we have to like spur growth, economic growth in the area to provide jobs that are not related to they're going to be somewhere connected with because the cartel has so much power, but they're not like cartel jobs. You want to give people opportunities for jobs that aren't killing people. That'd be good, right? The tourism industry provides a ton of jobs. Farming provides a ton of jobs. That's all great. I just think that you got to be really careful with this because kind of the knee-jerk reaction, as is often the case whenever an area is facing gentrification, which is not a bad thing, by the way, is to say, well, hey, look, like this is not fair. A bunch of wealthy people are coming in and building shit, and I'm not able to keep up, or I don't feel like I belong anymore. I mean, if there's an element of like ethno-nationalism that's often kind of like implicit in this kind of mentality, but like just leaving that aside for a second, it's just like not economically, like unless you want to go the way of like the crumbling industrial towns of the Midwest, it's like not a good way to view economic growth in an area. Like you want new businesses and new resources to be moving in. You want like more hotels to be built. You want farming to expand. The goal is
while also pushing people out. Like you just miss that part. Like you keep talking about like economic growth, but if it's not for the people who live there, it's for the tourists who come in. Or even like when you say like gentrification isn't a bad thing. Yeah, it's not bad for the people who move into the places, whereas the other people
bad
left,
for the area.
Right? Yeah, for the area. Yeah, I know, but like,
well, what about so I brought up,
this is going to be a constantly moving thing, right?
Look, I could drop areas.
Well, what about the desal plant?
There are going to be areas where you can just push people into, right? And we're like just not addressing that issue, right? The issue isn't like, oh, these people just feel like they can't keep up. It's, well, no, if their rents are being ramped up, or if like ownership of land, if people are like selling land for X amount, and you can't afford that land because these are people who have the money that are moving in. Well, yes. Like, what do you do?
Well, I'm going to add to that.
Go somewhere, right?
Well, before you answer that, I'm going to add to that.
There are places they can move in Mexico.
I brought up the desal plant Corpus, right? And this is actually a very similar situation I almost see, except I don't think Corpus is run by the cartel. They might be, who knows? But like they have right there. They built this mini desal plant. Now they're having to build a second one because what they did was they taxpayer funded it. It's been built, right? And they're seeing how it works. And then all 70-80% of the water is now going out of the city. And the whole point of this plant originally was to go to the people that funded it, right? We needed the water in Corpus, right? And so, okay, but then the city manager goes, well, it's built and we have control. We're going to make a contract to sell more money to these people, even though the original deal was to the Corpus. And they're like, well, we could just use the profits to build a better one for us. And it's like, well, that's good. That sounds good. Except what's to expect us when that area keeps growing? You don't just sell this out from under us, and we got fucked as taxpayers. Like, I feel like I'm generally pretty pro free market, except when I see somebody like a city manager undercut the people that funded it, right? And so okay, we funded it, and I agree maybe how we got there is a problem. But if they funded it, they're getting used. And if I look at Oaxaca, where it's actual corruption and they're actually controlled by the cartel, there ain't no way that those people there are going to get any benefits if they go and fund it through taxpayers, kind of thing. I don't see a solution here. Lactoid.
Yeah, I do see. I mean, I just respectfully disagree. I think that I think the solution here is to prioritize both the tourism industry and the farm industry. I just don't see I don't think that it's so obvious trade-off one way.
Yeah, so I like to. Oh, Corey, if you want to
Well,
go first.
no, I was going to actually invoke you because, from what I understand, you like to travel a lot, and you pretty much mentioned that you like to travel and you miss traveling because you can't do it as much. So I was actually curious if you want to share what are your thoughts on it, because it's well, based off of the prompt, it sounds like okay, well, there might be sort of a valid criticism of travel from a certain perspective, but then do you take that as valid criticism? Well, yeah, since as someone who's a tourist and desires to be a tourist, how do you feel about tourism?
Well, thank you for asking. And it's going to help expand this topic because I don't want it just to be on this one region that none of us, except for maybe Doobie, have been to. Okay. My position mostly, I think, aligns with Doobie. I think Doobie did a really good job of explaining the stakes and explaining possibilities, what we could do about all this. I looked into what our friend Lactwood said about the pipes, and it's pretty bad, right? From the estimates I saw, 50% of water is lost due to leaky pipes. There's a certain percentage of loss that happens in American cities, but as far as I know, I haven't heard of 50% being lost. It's a massive amount. And so that'd be great, right? I don't know where, if the funds are available for such a massive project. I don't know enough about the larger Mexican economy and how the politics of that works to say if that's the answer we should necessarily be pushing for. But that would, if there was an equitable solution, I think that would be part of it, right? Just not wasting water that we do have. That would definitely be a part of that. But to talk about what Corey was asking, yeah. So I'm a tourist. I like to tour, and I've never been to Mexico. I'd like to go one day. Maybe my buddy Doobie will come with me. That'd be pretty cool.
You want to buy some water while you're down?
I'll go with you, Brian.
I avoid Mexico. Okay, Mexico sucks.
Oh man, I love Mexico. You're wrong.
No, it's fucking terrible.
It's great.
Nope.
Well,
What do you not like about Mexico, Doobie?
So I've gone. Usually, I've driven there across the border, right?
Okay.
For family reunions that happen there for no reason. Because for some reason, I got a lot of family still in Mexico, right? In a particular town. It's they live in a rural part of Mexico, right? So it's a very small town. A lot of people in that town are related to me. And so we,
By chance alone, of course.
by chance, they just showed up there. I don't know why they're there. Fuck you. So yeah, anyway. So yeah, we'll go there maybe once a year. Once every couple of years, the whole family kind of shows up there and we just have a little reunion, right? And I drive there, right? When I'm going there. And going over the fucking border is cancer. Okay, I hate it. I hate it. The entire fucking process on both sides. Usually you just drive over, no problem, right? Like you just drive over, not even stop on the U.S. side. And on the Mexican side, it's shit because you got people coming up to the car trying to sell you like little chicles and trying to sell you like little blankets and shit and making you feel guilty. I hate that shit. It really irritates me. Okay, like I just want these people to stay away from my fucking car. Don't talk to me.
Do you feel guilty though?
Go feed your kid somewhere else. Okay, I do. That's the problem.
Oh, I
That's
don't feel
the
guilty.
issue. I know you don't. Okay, but I feel guilty.
I stare them
My
down.
impulse is to just like empty my bank account into all these kids' hands, right? Like just fucking take it all, which bothers me. Okay, but aside from that, right? Aside from just entering and leaving, Mexico itself is like dirty, smelly. I don't trust anything to be clean around the
Still have
areas that I go
flavored
to.
cigarettes, though.
I've gone to like
too rich
gone
and
to
uppity,
the-
Doobie is what it is. He
God.
can't eat.
I've gone to like on the resort trip through Mexico, right? Like I went on a Disney cruise some years ago, and we stopped at like Puerto Vallarta. We stopped at like a bunch of like little port cities along the coast. And as soon as you get out of the little town, or you know the tourist trap town that you're in, as soon as you walk out of that a little bit, it's fucking terrible, right? And I think this is what they're talking about here in like with Oaxaca, right? So there's like a little section, it's like kind of a tourist trap, like this. It's like Disneyland for the tourists.
resorts.
And then as soon as you get out of that, it's you see what the reality is, which is shit. Right? Everybody outside of this little section is living like shit. So that bothers me. I don't like that. I've also done the I've gone to like a resort, what's it called? Pacifica, I think. I don't, or I forget where the fuck that was. But I went there for like 2 weeks. Maybe like 8 years ago or something, right? And I had a similar issue, right? I just couldn't trust anything to be clean, even though it's a fancy ass resort. I couldn't trust anything to be clean. And as soon as we walked out of the fucking resort area, it was dirty and nasty and it smelled like fish. And I just didn't like it. Okay. So all these things, it just reasons for me just like not like
Why is everything so
Mexico.
dirty? Why is everything so dirty?
I just like I'm a clean person. Okay. I like things to be clean. I like to be able to trust that things are clean.
People
And when
build
I go to-
resorts in slums.
This is
Oh,
I used to
yeah.
really hold on. I really wanted to go to India, for example, right?
Oh,
and
God.
now I cannot because I see the fucking Indian videos of them like doing street food with their fucking armpits, and I just can't. Okay.
Oh yeah. Well,
So
India's
Mexico's a
rough.
similar thing. I don't trust that anybody working there has not been scratching their asshole in the last 2 minutes before this like serving food. I just can't.
Lactoid, the
Well,
answer
hold
to your
on. Have you
question
been to a
is 'cause
restaurant in America?
People typically gentrify, like if they're going to go abroad, they're going to gentrify slums. They're not going to gentrify like nicer neighborhoods, right? So they're going to pick
Yeah.
like cheap land. They're going to build like gated in resorts, right? And then the people that like, you know, you can travel from resort to resort, or you can have like a tourist guide that takes you to like excursions or whatever. But yeah, that's why the city is trash on the
Hold
outside, is because it's a slum otherwise,
This
outside
is
of the resort, which is cheap land that was just purchased.
Hold on.
Is it
First of
so-
all,
so-
first of
and on
all,
top of
let,
that, and on top of that,
let
one
me
more
st-
thing for me to
Go
complain about. Okay, so I've got like 4 family members who've been killed by the cartels in Mexico. I forget which cartel. Maybe a couple of them in Mexico. At some point over the last 10, 15 years or so. In different ways. You know, one of them who's working at a car dealership. The cartel showed up, got everybody from the car
He's doing
dealership.
technology right now.
From the
yeah, but I
office
do
there.
want to be able to explain it. Thank you. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, guys. Just I got to complain about this.
Oh, you're good.
And then
you're
like
good.
2 weeks later, they started finding these people in like fucking in cars that had been like set on fire on the side of the road, right? So like, just being in an area, right, being in a country where these cartels are operating, and in a lot of parts of the country, they actually run things. Like when I go to family reunions, they tell us, yeah, the cartel came to the town down the road, went to the police station and said, hey, actually, police will work for us now. If you don't want to, you can quit if you come into work tomorrow, you work for us. Like that's just how it is. Right? So like, I think that kind of like a lawlessness bothers me. Right? The fact that this is allowed to happen and the government knows that this is going on and they don't enough to do anything to fix it. That shit bothers me. It just feels gross. It's just the entire thing's gross.
Yeah, so then why should Lactoid or Gibbs care if that's just like
Well,
what the
hold on.
country is? That's going to
Hold-
be the argument, right?
Hold on, that's not going to be the argument. First of all,
No?
I know- so 2 things. One, I did want to get in here, but I was also trying to do technology. But so I'm sorry about it trying to being a nuisance there. We're going to get that down this
No
week.
worries.
and really-
No worries, friend. You're good.
Secondly, I think that this is, you know what, this is actually Doobie's American white privilege coming through. I don't know what race he is, but I'm going to just claim American
I'm
white privilege.
brown.
Hey,
Yeah,
that's
I'm
fine.
literally brown. Fuck
It's,
it.
it's either way. Well, you know what? You too uppity. Either way, you're too rich and badass or whatever. That's
Oh
all I
my
know.
God.
I've been all over the world. I've been to like really rich countries. I've been to really like poor, shitty ones. Mexico is not that dirty. I'll tell you what. I went to New York City not too long, and I flew into Newark, and they had on the stop sign. It said, rolling stops are legal after 9 p.m. because if you stop, you will be robbed. And
In New Jersey, yeah.
And I've been all over America. I've been all over the world. And I was less in danger in Belize, apparently, where they had commie rebels fighting at the time, than I was in New Jersey, which is crazy. You know, I've been all over Mexico. I've been to some good parts, some bad parts. And, like, yeah, they do have the corruption. But, like, the cartel's going to leave you alone for the most part if you go in there. And, like, if you're sitting there worried about people, like, scratching their ass before they serve you food, let me tell you something. Don't go to no fucking restaurants around anywhere. Because everybody's scratching their ass in the back while they're cooking your food. Like, I hate to break it to you. That's just, like, the restaurant industry in general. And I don't know. I think you're just sitting here talking about, oh, gentrification's bad. And we can argue about whether gentrification's bad. But the idea that, like, oh, these places are just super dirty. Mexico's not any more dirty than, like, 90% of the United States. If you're saying you go into a
I don't
touristy
disagree with
area...
you.
You're
Can't you
crazy.
not drink the water?
But hold on. Okay, Lactoid, there actually is
I
a
would
reason
not
for
drink
this.
the water
Hold
there.
on. I drink the water all the time, and I do have a strong
Out of the
stomach.
tap?
Yeah, out of the
Look what
tap,
happened.
fine. Hold on.
Look what we're
You
dealing
don't
with.
drink
Hold
tap
on, look
water
what-
in
that's
fucking
hold on,
Mexico,
that's fine.
brother.
That's easy.
Just hear me out. I
You
might have
shouldn't do
had
that.
light diarrhea the first day, and after that I was fine. About other people got sick
I
for
don't
like
get
24
that from
hours.
drinking water here.
Hold on. You would get that from
It's just
drinking water.
Lactoid's regular
But
diet.
the reason why is
Yeah.
because if you lived at other places and you came here, I have friends like Modi when he came here and he drank American water, he got the runs. And it's because we treat our water differently than other countries and vice versa. And you're just going to have that as a natural thing in almost any country if you travel, if you don't have a strong stomach. So like,
But hold on. But I've been
Well,
hold on.
but
I've
even
been
like
to Europe. Plenty of
Italians,
yeah.
like, you
I've
don't
been to
drink tap
Europe.
water.
I don't
yeah, but
get-
Europeans
do,
are a
like-
bunch of pussies, so they put all sorts of extra shit in there.
If you drink the tap water, Lactoid.
Hold on. So you're telling me that? Okay, give me a second. So the pussy areas treat their water to the point that I can drink it. And
Yeah,
not
because
get
they
diarrhea.
because they don't
The
have to fund
manly
their
areas,
they don't have to fund their militaries.
have-
Mexico's got to
they
fight their
have
own battles.
The
you know?
worms,
The
and
Listeria
bacteria.
water, that's the
Listen,
good water.
you just need
E.
to
coli
just stop
water,
being so
that's
up.
the
You
best.
need to just
Masculine
toughen
water.
up. You need to toughen
You're
up
a
and stop being
bitch
such a
boy and you
bitch.
don't want disease
Embrace
and
some
you don't want
culture.
diarrhea, you little puss.
Well,
Yeah.
I
Just be a
applaud
man.
the people there who
Just
have
be a man.
like a
Gonorrhea,
tolerance
bacteria,
to
dog. Tapeworm.
No gonorrhea. You're not
Whatever
gonorrhea from the water, bro.
protozoa.
Diarrhea and tapeworm. Fuck
Okay,
it,
you
bro.
don't- You ain't getting
Whatever
the clap from the
protozoa
water.
is living in that water. that's
Protozoa.
like-
Bro, people get radiated amoebas here in America all the time.
Lactoid, you sound like such of a G.
Wait, yeah, you know where that comes from. It usually comes from when you like jump in a river and you get untreated water up your nose.
Yeah,
Like,
and you know
you
who?
trying to
I've never
brain
gotten that, and I
shit?
jump in lots of rivers that's untreated. I'm
Someone
fine.
Get this man some
I,
Vagisil.
how much you want to bet that you have a higher chance of getting that if you jump in some kind of untreated water in Mexico?
I'm gonna wager that it's probably the same.
No, it's more because it's like a
Yeah, you know what the difference is though. I'm just not a
Warmer
weak.
This
A
guy's
weak
worried
I'm
about
just,
yeast
he's just
infections.
a weak bitch. He just needs to go in there and drink this water and like let the amoebas get in there
Wait,
and
no,
build
no,
your
no. I
immunity.
agree, Lactoid is weak, but
What the
the
fuck?
water
Everybody
thing is
that's doing
legit.
this is weak.
Okay, the water thing is legit.
Yeah, y'all just
Not
being
drink.
pussies, bro. I'm just saying. Like,
Yeah,
it-
bro, you guys are just being pussies.
You gotta build up some
Well, Corey's
immunity.
saying I shouldn't do it, so I kind of.
What's gonna happen when the
Gibbs,
apocalypse
Gibbs, if you
happens?
went to India, would you eat the street food? Be honest.
Okay, no, I would not eat the street food, bro.
bro.
They be using sewer grease.
Is
No,
it
no,
'cause you're
no.
a
That is
pussy?
different. No.
Yes,
Hold
is
on,
it
hold
because
on.
you're a little pussy?
I guess
Why
so.
can't
I'll
have
tell you
those
what.
worms?
There's a
Indians
difference.
eat it.
There's
They
a
don't-
difference.
they're
Hold on.
fine.
Me-
They
Yeah,
eat
the
it.
Indians
Hold on,
eat
hold
it.
on, hold on.
Shit in the
Okay.
Hold on,
street.
that's not
They
true.
just
That's
shit in
not
the
true.
street. What's
Yeah.
the
Hold on, there's
Oh,
a
you
big
gotta
difference.
poop
Hold
in
on,
your little
I actually
fancy
can tell.
toilet.
I can give you the. I can
Fucking
cut this line.
Fucking
I will fight this
pussy.
battle. Hold on.
Douche,
There's a difference.
douche.
There's a difference. In Mexico, they don't die of dysentery regularly. In India, the average population is dying of dysentery because they're using what they call sewer grease in their cooking. They literally scrape the
Average
grease.
population is dying
Yeah.
of dysentery.
In India, a lot of people do. A lot of people die. The
I
average,
know
I don't know about
people
the
do.
average
Average
person, but like
like,
it's a
yeah,
common
I'm
thing
not
in
looking
India to
at
die of
claim-
dysentery. It's
And
not
then
a
lot
common
of people
problem
is
in
also
America.
claim-
Listen, it's not the okay. When I say the average, I
I
mean
forgot
it's,
about the sewer grease.
it's
thing.
not.
Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, they literally use sewer grease in India to cook. They don't do that in Mexico. All right, it's a. I don't know about the average person. When I say the average, I mean the population in India. Dysentery is a common
saying
thing.
some people,
India's
they
got
die.
it worse than Mexico by a pretty.
Of
significant
course,
degree.
but yeah, pretty substantial.
Lactoid,
Like,
you have a new mic?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
trying
yeah.
something out.
Yeah, he's doing his.
oh wait, do you eat
headphones,
sushi?
Well,
Hold on, do
India's
you
like
eat sushi
10
in
times,
Japan?
8 times
For
the
the
size of
benefit.
Mexico.
Would you eat sushi in Japan?
Yeah, of course they eat sushi in Japan.
Oh, okay. You would eat sushi in Japan, so I guess you're not worried about tapeworms.
Well, you
It's
wait,
raw
wait, wait,
fish.
that's
I
not
wouldn't
a
eat
Japan
any
is a
of it.
very
Japan is
very
clean.
clean country.
Yeah, but
That's
lots of
just
people
the
get
raw-
but
that's
lots
just
of
the
people
raw
get
fish.
tapeworms
Wait,
from the raw
Didi,
fish.
what's a clean country?
So
like,
okay,
like,
okay,
is
a
Dubai
couple
clean
things.
country?
First
Or
of all,
city?
Oh, I
I do food
see.
in Dubai. Dubai, I
whenever
feel
you-
like I
whenever
could
you
trust
eat
them
sushi-
because if the person preparing my food didn't do it, clean themselves properly, I feel like they get hanged or something.
100%.
No.
So wait, what's a
So, Japan,
what's
a little
a
bit more
clean
iffy.
country that isn't
Nah,
like Dubai? If Japan,
But you
is
got to
dirty?
remember, they're very
Sweden.
racist.
I
Japan.
think
They're gonna
Sweden
take
do
one
okay.
look and
Oh,
give you
okay,
the
so
bad.
we're gonna go
bad
like
sushi.
Nordic and like what, Danish?
The
countries?
Nordic countries seem fine.
Danish
Canada, iffy. Yeah, the Danish countries, fine.
Japan
Where
is very
else?
clean.
No, but,
You
but
probably-
They say
Japan's
that.
racist. They're
They
gonna give
say
you the bad
that, but
sushi.
I've seen a lot of. You know those videos about like oh, this guy has been a fucking sushi chef since he was a baby.
His
Like
barometer
those
is
kind of videos.
Sweden, so
Oh, hold on, and then he's like preparing the sushi in front of people, and I'm like, oh, I'm so excited to eat this guy's sushi. And he's doing it with his fucking bare hands. Like
Yeah.
that's
They
disgusting.
no
Fuck that. No, fuck that.
No, they wash
clean,
their
They
hands,
clean.
brother.
Yeah, they wash
Nope.
their hands first of all.
They cannot
Second
clean
of
it
all,
enough for me to be okay with
the
it.
people there live until like fucking 200 or something fucking crazy like that.
Yeah, because they're getting the immune. They're getting the diseases. They're getting the
They're just
diseases.
No, it's not.
exaggerating this.
It's not. It's not because they get all these fucking diseases. Because
Yeah,
they
they're
clean
eating
their
them.
shit. It's a very clean people, a very clean country. Okay.
I agree with
Um,
Lactoid.
And here's the thing about like yes, it's possible to get tapeworms from sushi. You run that risk
Very
whenever you
possible.
eat raw food. Fish tapeworms aren't nearly as bad as pork tapeworms. There are treatments. It's not going to kill you. You'll make it. But like, I don't know if I would be able to make it. Like if I'm drink some of the shit in Mexico or India. Like
You'll be
that's, like,
fine in
especially
Mexico.
India, some of
Hold
the-
on, hold on. This is slander comparing Mexico to India. It's fucking wild. Let's just get that out of the way.
Listen, Gibbs, you can I'm assuming you have some sort of mobile camera. You can go to your toilet right now and drink some water and just put
This
your money where
VOD's
your
being
mouth is.
flagged, by the way, just so you.
I mean, why would I
I
do
don't know
that?
if
I
you're
gotta give
allowed
them
to
the
do that
seat.
on
Oh
Twitch.
my.
That's
Yeah,
true.
you can't.
That's
You
right. I don't
can't
get
take
anybody
a
I
banned.
feel like I don't know if that's
Okay,
a
so-
rule, and if it's not,
That-
it should be.
And you can take a clip and post it in the Discord chat.
I mean, I could just drink normal tap water. It's the same water. I don't understand why we got to be from the toilet.
So I looked it up, and this is just an AI search, so take it for what you will. It says that sewer grease is not a big thing in India. Instead,
thing.
they have what's called gutter oil. Is used in China. So it sounds like what you're describing is more of a Chinese thing than a problem with Indian street food.
I feel like I think Indians do it too. I mean,
Oh,
I've
India
seen-
does the sewer grease thing. I've
Yeah,
watched
that's
the
what
videos.
they're
Mistaken,
talking
it's
about using
racist.
it.
Either way, I don't want to be eating no
The
gutter
AI is
grease
gonna
or
be a
sewer
little bit
grease. I'll tell you
biased
that.
for the Indians right now.
Yeah, they're-
for-
yeah,
so
listen, they
I
got-
guess
they
you
gotta-
guess the Chinese for the reason, but
They got to
Yeah,
hype them
I
up
mean-
to JD Vance, you know.
There has to be a hierarchy in the AI racism, and so we're going to divert to the Chinese from the Indians every time.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I'm Team
but,
India over Team
it
China.
says, it's Indian food safety agencies have not reported widespread cases of gutter oil use among street food vendors. Typical concerns in India relate to the repeated reuse of cooking oil, which, while unhealthy, does not involve recycling oil from sewers or gutters, as seen in gutter oil scandals in China. So
They
they,
have-
do
Put their feet
recycle.
in it.
Hold on,
Put
I
their
looked
feet
it up
in
just
it.
now. It says they have a big problem with not sewer oil, but this is what they call it, waste cooking oil.
Yeah. So they are
they
reusing
reuse
oil.
oil.
So they are reusing oil, but not like the way China does it, which is like actual gutter sewer, like
Actual
no
sludge.
fucking around sludge they're putting in their food. So good to know. I had not known about that. That's terrifying. Something that'll keep me up at night. But okay. I mean,
Well,
I
hold
had
on.
been
It
to,
is hold on.
Hong
The
Kong.
WCO,
Hong
just
Kong's
for the
a bit
record,
different. Sorry.
it says it is collected specifically from recycled sources like sewers.
In that one, okay. Well, in
Yeah.
the one I'm looking at says.
Well, why do you have a
otherwise, but-
problem with this, Gibbs?
Yeah.
Couldn't you just be more of a manly kind of person and just eat it?
I mean, listen,
I mean,
I'm gonna be honest with
Isn't
you.
it more economical?
Hold
Aren't
on,
you in favor of that?
I'll be honest, if I
it's
went
saving a lot of
there-
money.
If I went
Waste.
there, I'll tell you right now, I would fucking eat at least one fucking stall somewhere that probably served me up some sewer oil just to say I did it. But I don't think I would do it often. You know, I mean, I'm
Do it
not
for the
afraid.
vibes, do it for
Yeah.
the
Hey,
chat.
I
I might be
appreciate
shitting
that.
the rest of the night, but we're gonna try it out.
fucking-
There are YouTube like videos of like these vague like
Travel bros.
foreign- Yeah, travel bros. There's one of them that I saw, which is speed running food poisoning in India, and he goes
Yeah.
to like as many street vendors, and like by the fourth one, he's like vomiting and It's
Your chat brought something up interesting though. What do you think's worse, the sewer oil, which is biological shit, or the microplastics?
Sewer oil.
probably
Sewer
at this
oil.
point.
Probably
Microplastics
shit.
will kill you
I
very,
mean-
very slowly over many, many years.
Yeah,
Maybe-
see, one of them makes you sterile. One of them you just might get the shits.
Well,
Yeah,
no,
it's
microplastics
just
don't
the
necessarily make
shits.
you sterile right away. Like, and that's not a foregone conclusion. I don't think. That's,
yeah.
Doesn't
Yeah,
it raise your estrogen though?
I'm sure.
Maybe
if you-
Gibbs is onto something that actually
Okay.
this kind of untreated, like
That's what I'm
lacking
saying.
microplastics is actually the most manly thing to do.
Well,
because it
okay,
lacks
I would
the
bet.
estrogen.
I would bet a large amount of money
Right,
that
test
Gibbs
your
contains
test
the
doesn't
most
do
amount of
effect
microplastics, like per unit of skin.
Well, that's
cells
why
or whatever.
that's why he wants to make his,
Whoa,
his diet
whoa,
more masculine
whoa.
by going to India.
Well, why would I have the most microplastics? I be eating my own ranch food. We don't be feeding our cows any fucking.
Me, okay. I don't know if you know how bioaccumulation works
Okay.
and all that stuff.
Yeah,
But
so
let's
in
just
my
say these
grass,
products,
Yeah, in the grass. What are the
you know how things
microplastics?
bioaccumulate
Yeah.
through trophic levels. Like,
I do understand that. I'm trying to get you to explain to me how my grass-fed beef is
Exponential
going to
growth,
be getting
by the
the
way.
microplastics.
By
It's in the
accumulates
grass.
exponentially.
yes,
Throw
well,
that
if
in.
it's in the
Yeah,
grass,
it's in the
okay,
grass. How did it
which
get in the
actually
grass?
it's in the grass, then the cows are eating it and
Mm-hmm.
concentrating it in their bodies.
Right?
Also, it
And-
could be in the water, which is
Yeah, it would
And
have
it's
to be in the
actually
water.
as well. Yeah, well, I mean, it's everywhere. Okay,
Yeah, it's
there's no
everywhere.
getting away
That's the
from it.
problem.
That's why you gotta fly your meat in from Kazakhstan. Okay. There's
Okay.
Very
Oh,
little
Oh,
Yeah,
god
microplastics
damn
there.
it. No, I'm out on that one. He
Let's-
lost me. Bye, American
Let's
beef.
refocus. Can we refocus, guys? All right.
Well,
Yeah,
I asked you the question.
Yeah,
Brian.
I'm trying to refocus on.
All right, so
me
Gutturai,
here.
go for it.
Wait, is your question like are you trying to account for the like displacement or the gentrification, or are we just tackling like tourism in because tourism in general is not going to be bad for the city and nation, and that's going to be that. But like
Well,
for the
I
citizens,
don't know. No, that's just the case. Actually, so this is what I like to discuss. So
Okay.
one, my brand of tourism. I'm glad DB gave us an overview of his experiences because it shows once again the wealth disparity here. I need to change. Prime has never been to a resort, right? Prime has gone to. I think from actually, I'm not positive, but I'm
They're, like,
pretty
not
sure I've gone
expensive.
to more countries than my friend Doobie has. But that's just because he's insular. But like Prime has never gone to a resort. What Prime does is one, he talks in the third person. It's very important, makes him sound cool. But two, I stay in hostels. I stay in group dormitory style places. And I'm like more like within the city, within the general population. I don't like go
You're a
to
couch
a
hopper.
country, spend my entire time in a fucking American style resort, which is like just like America, and it doesn't feel like you've actually left, right? That fucking sucks. Why would I do that, right?
Mhm.
And of course, hostels cheaper. That part's important. So yeah, I don't do that thing. So my type of traveling is much different. Like, I don't know. I don't know if they have hostels I would trust in Oaxaca. I have no idea. I have no idea. I've not looked up that at all. But like the way I interact with the locals, right, is completely different. And I think that matters to a certain extent. But I might be coping. Here.
Yeah, I
You
don't
guys can-
disagree. Like, so when I said in my opening, not that I expect I made to remember, but yeah, when I mentioned in my opening statement, sort of like, I think there's a bad aspect of tourism. Like, well, yeah, what sort of like with the hotels and like, from what you've described, I have less issue, but I'm sure there are downsides. I have less issue with that. But yeah, you might be coping.
Yeah, so I might be coping in that, like, I'm trying to separate myself from the way other people do it. Like, I'm not
You're the
like,
good traveler, the good tourist.
yeah. Maybe I'm the good traveler, but maybe not.
Couldn't
So,
be
like,
me.
Yeah. So, I think, well, one like the places I go to, like they probably wouldn't be able to afford trucking in like water the way that a resort does, right? Maybe they could, maybe I don't know, but like I go to smaller establishments, so like so there's that. the point that I'm trying to make there is that like the footprint that the places I go to and the way I um interact with the country is smaller. But the locals may not look at it any different. So, expanding this conversation, we've seen across the world a lot of pushback against tourism. I've seen it in Spain, where they like were just like attacking tourists, like with like water guns and shit, right? Um, but like they were like big protests saying tourists get out. We've seen it in Japan more recently. Japan is having like a huge boom in tourism. You'd say, well, that's great, right? This is what people are saying here. Well, tourism is always good. Well, the people disagree. Japan is not a poor country, too.
They are
And then, like
racist though.
yeah, they can be super racist. That part's true. That's 100%. But but I mean that part isn't the focus here. And trust me, I know. I've been in Japan, and it can be weird. But,
Expert mode.
yeah. Um, my point is that there has been a boom, and it's been destructive to like the locals, right? They've just like tourists coming through, like our friend Corey was saying earlier. They can destroy like landmarks, right? They can destroy towns or anything, like for Instagram picture. They do all kinds of things, right? They have a lack of respect when we're talking about mass tourism, a lack of respect for their surroundings. And when you just get enough of them, right, even if they're like not all like assholes or something, right, you just get enough of them, it just puts a wear and tear on the local infrastructure, right?
Yeah.
Being the roads, being their utilities, being all those things, right? And of course, pertaining to this particular case, driving up costs, right? Driving up the cost of living, driving up the cost of housing, and locals push back. So this is a thing that we're seeing in many places around the world. But as a tourist, like, what do I think? I think those locals have a right to feel that way. I think it's incumbent upon us tourists, people, their guests, to try to be as accommodating as possible. If they really, really don't want us, if they're looking for zero tourists, then maybe we shouldn't go. I mean, that's also a possibility of not going. But yeah, I'll leave it there. I have a lot more things to
So-
say on different things, but yeah.
Miami did this last year for spring
Oh
break.
yeah.
For spring break, they absolutely hate fucking spring breakers in Miami. They cause insane ruckus. It's, high schoolers and like freshmen, sophomore college, whatever it is. And so what they did was they're like, fuck it, we don't want. They literally said we do not want spring breakers to come here. They implemented a like a curfew.
They up the price for
they uppriced everything.
for parking for the garage. Parking garage.
Yeah, parking garages were like 100 a night or like 200 a night or some crazy shit.
100 like an hour or something. It was
for out of towners, so on and so forth. Because you're right, the spring break crowd is fucking destructive to Miami, but the rest of the tourists aren't, right? The rest of the year tourists aren't, and so like what for a lot of these like tourist locations, there's a high season, and they kind of have workarounds. I feel like at this point, where it's like they understand that like, well, spring break, there are certain areas in spring break where they allow for the ruckus and the craziness, or like Mardi Gras, for example, in New Orleans, right? The way they handle that is like they have intense street cleaning every single night. Like it's done it's done routinely. It's done like at a large scale, so on and so forth. So it's like most of the places are kind of tackling these problems. I feel like no.
Well, I don't know. I don't know about most places are doing that, right? Because I think I haven't done some sort of like larger study here.
Yeah.
But I would imagine that the common response is what we saw in Oaxaca, right? So in this video, they detail how like the governor or whoever's the head of that municipality was pushing back against the protests. So there's these mass protests against tourism, right? Tourists, allowing tourists to get out. And there was an implication, right, which Lactoid repeated, that maybe it's racism. In fact, right, the governor or whoever's the head said, maybe they are racist against white people. Maybe, and he brought up Hitler. I mean, maybe they're somehow related. It could be the case. Yeah, it's nonsense. It's bullshit, right? We know this as a distraction. We know this is what people empowered you to keep in the good graces of capital. This is the usual playbook, and I think the inhabitants have the right to push back. But at the same time, right? Like we can recognize there is a larger issue, right? So we can recognize like what Lacto was saying before. Leaky pipes. Like, I mean, we're talking about specifically water at the very least. That's a big part of it. But that's not the only thing, right?
The displacement.
Yes, it's displacement. And leaky pipes aren't going, or non-leaky pipes aren't going to solve that. Right. So this is a multifaceted, nuanced problems. And I think it's weird when people who are just trying to dismiss it, like, this is not actually that big of a deal. Oh, that's just a natural flow of things. And you have to necessarily accept it. Right. This is just how economies work. And the people, the most vulnerable of us, just have to be used to being buffeted by the winds of capital. And I don't accept that.
Well, you brought this up. I mean, I guess like this kind of it was really Lacto and Doobie brought this up, right? And like Doobie kind of brought up, you get this like force of change, and then you get rid of these people and put them in there. And I kind of like touched on how we get that done. And Lactoid's idea was like, well, short of airstrikes, taking out the cartel or like sending people in there, how do you get this force of change? And I mean, I think that's a real good question. Like, what is going to change when you have like so much corruption like entrenched? Like, the cartels own these hotels or partially own them, or I would argue that, like, I mean, once again, I can't prove that all, like, with the information I have hand, but we know that's a thing they do. We know they're tied to the Mexican government. If you even get the willpower from the people to get these people out, how do you, like, stop these people from coming back? How do you get the public stuff? How do you stop the corruption going from, like, we put the money aside for the leaky pipes to get fixed, and then you have this. I feel like it is, like you said, a nuanced problem and a multifaceted problem, but I don't know how you deal with any of this unless you either bring the cartels in on it and make it worth their while to like fix this, or on the flip side, you go in there and you dig them out, which I don't know if Mexico's got the stomach to do that or even wants to do that. Like, that's the real root of this problem here.
Or we end the drug war here and then like starve the cartels for for money. That's another way of
hey, listen, I'm in with that one, but then they're just gonna sell sex slavery or something. I mean, they'll find something to sell.
Yeah, but sex slavery doesn't bring in the money that drugs
cut out
organs.
Well, no, they're doing all of this anyway. But like, if you cut out their cash cows, they're obviously going to lose power, right? Like, you're going to cut out most of their income, right? So like, if you cut like
that hasn't worked yet.
Wait, well, if you cut their hotels,
we haven't ended the drug
cutting
war.
their cash cow. I'm very confused.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you're saying we're gonna have to like get rid of all drugs, legalize them all, or something. Maybe. Yeah, okay. I figured that's where you're going with this. But if we look at like when we eliminate things like marijuana, right? They're like, okay, it's basically legal now in the U.S. But even then, we see them just buying, for a lot of the places, right? But even then, we see them getting in on the ground level here, like as legitimate companies. I don't know, like how you.
That's not.
Why can't we just disincentivize?
It is absolutely a huge
corporations from investing in cartel-ridden areas, considering that they're going.
There was that raid just the other day. That was all news here in the United States.
No,
and like on the left, they were arguing about how evil the Trump and ICE administration were coming in, and then on the right they were going, look, these guys were cartel ran, and it was like literally, and we know there's examples of them doing this all over the United States.
You're gonna find examples, but I think it's an improvement when you have some businesses that are non-cartel. Most marijuana businesses in America that are not cartel linked, as opposed to if you have it illegal, where
how do you know
all
that?
of them are going.
I would
to
argue
be,
that they might almost be attached.
You think most of the legal marijuana businesses in America are like infiltrated by the cartel?
Well, if it's not, I mean, okay, here's my reason why I think that.
That's a stretch.
I would argue that, okay, how would you get into a market for marijuana, right? It's going to be the people that already have the supply, right? And then you're going to have
It's also gonna
people.
be
No, you can
farmers.
just start
Farmers.
growing weed.
You can
It's
just
gonna have to
start.
market it
It's
into
You
gonna
can
be
just
farmers
start.
who own
But
large-
even hold on,
Yeah.
even those farmers that just started, a lot of those, if you want quality and don't want to wait like 10 years to get your quality up, you're going to have to buy from someone that's got the crops
That's
and
not
grow it in.
that's not true at all.
Oh, it's
The weed
absolutely
industry-
true.
Brother, I was in the weed industry in Michigan. You kind of just jump into it. You can buy clones from anyone if you go through 1 or 2 grow ops to kind of get your
And who's-
get your
who's selling those
formula
clones?
down. That's 6 months to 8 months. You're fine.
Yeah, and who's selling those clones?
Dispensaries, other
Okay.
local farmers and growers. It was
Oh, the
mainly a lot of
local
white dudes, if
farmers
you
and
want me to be
growers.
honest.
Okay, yeah.
White
and the
dudes who've
local
been growing
farmers and
weed
grow-
forever, like the old hippies.
I mean,
And those are
originally
guys
it
that
comes
are
from
connected to the cartel, too.
Himalayan mountains, so really the Indians are responsible, I guess. But what we're saying is like
It's always the Indians.
you have no evidence here that most of the marijuana industry in America is like cartel linked.
Well, hold on.
On
We do
top
have
of that,
evidence. The
like,
bank
we're
says that
already
they.
seeing, no.
We do.
we're
That's
seeing
why
the
the banks
cartel
don't want to accept their
reorient.
money because they say that they're tied to cartel and organized crime. We know that's
Again,
a
No,
reason.
it's because
you are
weed isn't
no,
federally
whoa,
legal,
hold on,
so the
wait,
banks
that
don't
is
do
not
it.
why
They-
banks. No,
That's
no,
part of it,
this is
yes.
Not
The
no. it's
reason why
because-
the banks
no.
don't want to work with
Schedule one.
dispensaries, and it's because federally it's not a legal drug.
Oh.
So in order to have your
It's
bank
both.
work in Chicago, Detroit, California,
Yes.
Texas, Florida, right? There are states that don't have, like in Texas, it's not fully legal, right? And in Florida, it's not recreational.
Yeah.
So no, the banks are not going to allow you to just go
Same
make
reason why
purchases.
there's little
Credit
marijuana
card,
research
credit card
in
companies
the
aren't
United States.
going to allow you to buy weed on credit yet.
And there should
until
be.
There's a federal declaration for it to be removed from Schedule 1 and like something more to like alcohol, which you can buy with credit and debit.
Yeah,
Which Biden
it-
said he
it
was
is
going to do. He was a fucking liar. I want that out on the record.
It is entirely because it is federally illegal in Schedule 1, and if the banks try to get involved with it, they're going to get hit. They're going to get they can't risk that. If you're a bank and you have the
Yeah.
fiduciary responsibility to the people who have invested money in your
Okay.
bank,
Actually,
you
what
can't get
happened in
into
the
a federally
80s?
illegal industry.
Hold on. What happened in
Um,
the 80s with the banks and the cartels? Do you remember this? No.
Yeah, we did. They didn't have the laws that we had. Like there was, lots of unscrupulous
Yeah,
banking, right?
Yeah, I'm
but,
saying
like,
that. I think, and you think that's
laws
not
are
happening now?
tight.
Oh, they're not that tight.
Especially
Bro.
banking laws.
There's a bank.
You're
no,
telling me
I-
the
I-
cartels who are rich
I
as shit
actually
can't
work
find ways
in
around
the
these
banking
laws?
industry. The banking industry is crazy. No, actually, it's actually crazy. The level of regulations, right? Like we have in since the 80s, right? Since that time, the last 40 years or so, right? We have layers, different rounds of reinforcing bank regulations, especially not just for the cartel industries, but after 9/11, yeah, we cracked down even tighter on things, and with the know your customer, the KYC laws, right? With you have to know exactly who this individual is, where this money is coming from, having good faith understanding where the money is coming
How
from.
much forms
If
it takes
there's
to open
any-
a
if there's-
debit account nowadays.
If there's any suspicious activity, that's got to be reported. There's reporting for depending on how much they take out, right? There's whole layers of reporting and about this. So it's like nothing. It's nothing like it was in the 80s. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, in
And
2024,
we're seeing the
one of the
cartel
largest
reorient
banks in the United
towards, like,
States
fentanyl
got
and
busted
cocaine,
for
more so.
with a $1.8 billion of penalties for money laundering for the cartels. So if you're telling me,
So they got in trouble.
so hold on, if you're telling, hold on, yeah, and my argument is where there's smoke, there's fire, and if you got one of them, there's probably 15, 20 more doing it.
Okay, but you're pointing out that they did it, they got busted, and now they got this massive fine. This is of course
Oh,
going to be the
I got
reason why
3 more. I
banks-
got douchebag in 2023. We
George,
got
that's-
HSBC.
that's
Yeah, whatever.
the
I like
Bank.
douchebag. Yeah, douchebag. We
Yes,
got
banks
HSBC,
find-
Danske Bank here in the U.S., FinCEN. These are all the
HSBC,
these are all the last 5.
HSBC is one of the biggest fraud banks in the world. That's name a decade, right? There's a scandal to go along with HSBC. That's just what they fucking do. That's how they roll. But that doesn't change the larger point, and that the way that U.S. banks operate now is completely different. Not that they don't do untrustworthy things, right? You haven't been here long enough, right? You've never heard my rant against Wells Fargo, right? Which is a absolutely corrupt institution. Do not put your money in Wells Fargo. They will steal it. They're gonna steal. They're going to do something awful. They're going to be caught in like 5 years doing with whatever they're doing to you right now. Wells Fargo is always in some other controversy. Literally, just articles just like tracking their controversies over the decades. It never stops with Wells Fargo, right? So, look, I don't have any love for the banks, but I'm just saying their ability to operate on behalf of drug cartels is like much diminished. That's all.
We're not even talking about drug cartels right now, though. We're talking about why is the bank not operating with legal weed businesses out in the open? Because of course they're gonna get caught immediately because this is like not a black market, this is a white market. They're gonna get caught immediately, and they're gonna get hit with a bunch of penalties because federally it's illegal, and banks operate on the federal level. So yes, banks are not going to operate with them as long as it is illegal. Now, if you legalize these drugs, you are going to take away financial power from the cartel, and if you take away financial power from the cartel, this is going to make them at least a little bit less capable of infiltrating and controlling every aspect of Mexico. Just take their money. Go for the money. Here's what we do. I'll bridge. Here's how we solve the crisis in Oaxaca. Here's how we solve every problem in Mexico.
Every problem?
Every
All of
problem.
them.
You ready?
I'm going to hold you to that, Lactoid.
I'm a fucking miracle worker. Okay, you ready? We legalize every drug in America and simultaneously launch the largest airstrike operation on the cartel. We take away all their money, like the carrot, or we take away the carrot, and then we put this massive stick, which is if we even think you're associated with the cartel, you're getting hit by a JDAM.
I mean, I don't see.
Okay.
Well, hold on. If we're gonna just do that, why don't we just give them the
Lactoid's
licenses
inter-Israeli
and make them?
showing up.
We could just
Yeah,
make Sinaloa.
exactly.
Sinaloa could just be Pfizer. We could have instead of I get Pfizer Tylenol, I get Sinaloa Tylenol, and I can go buy my cocaine from them directly. Like, why would we even do that? Let's just bring them on board at that
Cartel's
point.
gone in 2 years.
Oh man.
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, we can just say that one. If you are a cartel-linked organization, no, you cannot do business in our
Yeah, just
new
disincentivize people to-
legal regime, right? Like simple as that. You don't get to enter the market. Sorry,
But we already
right?
do that.
Also,
No, we don't, because you just said that half of these resorts or all of these resorts are partially owned by cartels. So you're in like partnership
Okay.
with cartels.
Do you know how shell companies work and money laundering works? That's what they're doing. And then they're like, I mean, you're acting like they're not. They go
But
and
we
buy.
know that they're doing it, right? That's the problem. Is we know that they're doing it, and
Okay.
so we disincentivize.
Yeah, but
these people
knowing
to
what
do
that
that,
somebody's doing it is
which
different from
adds
being
to
able to
lactose
prove
things
It's
take
half
away
the
their
battle.
money.
Look, like, all right. So I do want to like try to refocus this on the topic.
gutter oil.
Yeah, we keep straying. But no.
We're
In
gonna
terms
refocus
of
back to the
business-
Fantastic Four.
Without a doubt, if we legalized drugs here, that would do a massive blow to the cartels, right? Without a doubt, something they would never recover from. They might morph into something else, right? But whatever it is, it's going to be much smaller, right, and much more easier to handle. And they don't have the fire hose of American money like powering them, so that's just like indisputable. But beyond that, so I was trying to make a larger point about tourism, and that there seems to be a thought that just because the industry is profitable and it's local, that it's good, right? That it benefits the people, or it's something that should be prioritized, right? And I liked what I think Doobie said before, but maybe someone else said it as well. Talking about like, what is the point of the industry, right? Like what is it supposed to do? Is it supposed to simply enrich a few, right? Enrich the people in charge of those industries? Or is it supposed to benefit the people at large, right? We can make decisions about these things. We can through policy, we can decide which path that we go down. Usually, though, we go down the path that concentrates the most wealth and least amount of hands. But that doesn't have to be the case, right? So like looking at Oaxaca as it stands, as it stood a year ago, I'm not sure if this is still a problem. I imagine it's still a problem, but I can't be sure. But looking at what they were dealing with, so many of the people weren't getting water, right? A large portion of the locals aren't getting water one time per month, right? That is a failure. Whatever is contributing to that is wrong, right? The people there should have access to water. Basic human right. Basic human right, they should have access to water, right? And I'm not even doing the socialism thing where I'm saying free water, right? Which is,
Access
yes,
to.
but access to water, right? That's the capitalist weasel word. As access to water. Yes, they should have access
The
to water. They
conversation.
should be able to pay through their public infrastructure and get affordable water that they can use. So, like whether it's the agriculture, right? Saying so much of the water is being used by agriculture. 70% it was a stat given, right? Well, then that needs to be reduced. If that's a big contributing factor, it needs to be reduced. Like just because there's an industry, right? How much of that industry is benefiting the people? What does that actually look like? Can we put tighten legislation on that industry, right, for the benefit of the people? That's something we should consider. The tourism industry, right? There should be something either to rein in the tourist industry or to maybe limit its growth within the area. Like whatever it has to be, like the people have to at least have water. If we can't, the people living there can't have water, right? Then the social contract has failed. It has already failed, and it needs to be renegotiated.
Okay, so I think maybe this problem could be because you said you didn't want to keep it to Oaxaca. So like if I move it to like Puerto Rico, which is American territory, right? Where they're kind of
Not
dealing with
according to
this.
conservatives, but okay. Not according to conservatives.
I mean, it is whether they want it to be or not. We own and operate it, and fucking poorly, right? And so we have the same issues going on, but it's a smaller island where the land is getting gentrified. These people don't have anywhere to go, and they're dealing with like problems on the ground. And if the solution that like Lactoid and Gibbs are saying is that like, well, no, more tourism brings more money, but if the people aren't seeing any of the money and the people aren't receiving any of the benefit, and then they have less place to go, right? Because like once again, Puerto Rico is a pretty small island. So like, where else are these people going to go if their land is being bought out, their homes are being bought out, and they can't afford like to purchase the home because of the property values at this point, or even like the rents. So like, what is like the solution there?
I mean, I a couple of things.
This is American territory, right? We can at least feel a little bit. These are still Americans to an extent.
I don't know like what this. Okay, so like having access to water, I guess, is a human right, right? Like Prime is saying, right? However, if I choose to like build my home in the middle of the Sahara Desert, like whose fault? Is it the government that owns the Sahara Desert's fault that I don't have water out there? Like, no, if like a natural change, like climate change is happening, right? I hear that all the time. If climate change or human-driven climate change happens, and like you're no longer profitable in that area, or like there's no longer water in that area, people are gonna have to move. I don't see that as any different.
Move to America. I agree.
Yeah, I guess. I moved to America.
I mean, that's what people do, right?
Well,
but they can't do it fast enough legally, so they come here illegally.
Well, that's a whole different thing. But hold on. If you sit here and you say all these things, right? No, it's not right. So if you sit here and you say, okay, you have access to this, like I don't know that you necessarily do have the right to have access. Like if like shit changes, you have to adjust. That's just like the way life is. And finally, I want to go back to this other point about the cartels being disappeared due to the thing. Al Capone, for example, after Prohibition didn't become
for a second, please.
Oh,
yes. Sorry,
from the cartels.
Hold on. This is important. After Prohibition ended, Capone made most of his money due to owning a milk production facility, and that's the reason why we even have sell-by dates and expiration dates today, because he pushed that so hard as one of their marketing tools. He ended up making most of his money from owning the dairy production facility. So when you say the cartel that he got in there unfairly with, like by kidnapping and ransoming somebody, so when you can look all this up, this is all well-known, established fact. If you disagree, if you sit here and tell me that they're like, oh, cartels won't just go into other legitimate businesses through nefarious ways, you just don't know how organized crime works. I mean, whenever we have a great example here in the United States and literally have expiration dates solely because of Al Capone. Like, it's a ludicrous idea.
We all acknowledge. Oh, sorry. I'll let Doobie go first.
Okay, so my wife is demanding that I promise to tell you guys a joke later on Discord. I can't tell you it right now on Twitch because it's very bad for TOS. But she's demanding that I promise to tell you guys when I tell you guys that I'm going to tell you guys later. Okay, that was it. Sorry.
Good to know. All right. N-word incoming, right? Friend Gibbs, right? No one is saying, right? Like I don't think our friend Lactoid said, and certainly I didn't say that the cartels like couldn't morph into something else. In fact, I specifically said, hey,
That's what he
they're gonna
said. He
morph into
literally
something
said
else.
that. He said they would wipe them out overnight if we just legalize the drugs.
Oh, I don't know if they would be wiped out overnight. I don't know if they would necessarily. I think they have enough reserves to transition to something else, right? And I don't know if the Mexican government has like the stomach to
I
necessarily
said
like
2 years.
Okay, 2
Sorry,
years is basically
what?
overnight. It's a
You said 2
Trumpian
years?
overnight.
No, I said that if we combine removing all the carrot and we add the stick, we can get rid of them in 2 years.
Oh yeah, and also fuck that. So let's deal with that in a second. But they can morph. They can grab something, but we can also understand that like milk money doesn't replace cocaine money, right?
It
There's
might.
not enough cows. There's not. Milk money does not replace cocaine money. It doesn't replace heroin money. It doesn't replace the other drugs, which I'm sure you know more than I do. The methamphetamines, right? These things aren't replaced by by milk money
meth.
or any.
Do I look like I smoke meth? I'm bad as fuck.
I didn't say you smoke meth. To be clear, I'm not trying to imply that
I got good teeth.
I just feel like you have a better idea
Are they
of
yours?
what the marketplace is than I do.
They are mine.
But in any case, yeah. So that like they have the opportunity to change, right? Like the fucking Kennedys or fucking bootleggers, right? But now, right, they're like American like aristocracy, right? Like things can happen, right? So sure, but to just to Lactoid's point, and I guess it has to be done. Yeah, that's fucking disgusting. Right, like the cartels aren't just like some separate entity with like separate bases that you could just like easily target and bomb. These, if they're the pseudo governments in certain areas, right? They're deeply embedded. Simply fucking airstriking them,
Some
right?
of them. They do have like rural like outposts and bases, often where they store the drugs and where they have like their own
Great.
facilities.
And where will they move immediately once airstrikes happen? Where do you think they're gonna go?
Yeah, you flush them out of their hiding
Flush
holes.
them out. Oh,
You
okay.
flush them out, and
This
then
is
and then
all
in
these,
and then
military
and then the
buzzstrings. Flush them out.
and
Yeah.
then the populated area, that's when you have like more traditional law enforcement.
Law enforcement. Okay, yeah. So what does that look like, right? With the heavily armed cartels. Was that
Yeah,
do you
Mexico needs a heavily armed intervention. These cartels are animals. I mean, Doobie was talking to you about how they're just killing people. Killed 4 people he knows. They're beheading people in the street. They're disemboweling people. They are terrorists in every single way you can think of. Yes, sometimes you got to blow up Al Qaeda. Sometimes you got to blow up the Sinaloa. Sorry.
I love how Lactoid is so willing to create war zones in other people's neighborhoods. So it's I don't know what the answer is, but I know the answer isn't U.S. intervention. Absolutely not U.S. intervention. Now, the U.S. could support a response by the Mexicans, right? I think that's fair. Help with logistics, certainly. That's great. Fair with intelligence. I would love that. I love inter agency support. Great, right? But the U.S. invading and deciding what they will and will not blow up, right? Well, we see from your Israeli friends that America doesn't really care about mass casualties, right? So yeah, fuck that. Instead, let's take the economic route, because if that's on the table, right, which Trump wants to put it on the table, if that's on the table, it will only be the stick. It'll only be the stick. We won't actually
Then I'd
do
be
the other
against it.
half of this. And
You need the carrot. You need to take away the carrot. I agree. You have to like stop the cash cow of the drugs simultaneously. You have to make it so nobody like you want to get into the legal industry and you can't try to like do some shit where you undercut or et cetera, et cetera. And so yeah, if it's just hey, well let's JDAM the cartels and that's the only policy, I would be against that. I'm opposed to that. But
You're
if there
against
is
Trump.
yes, sure, and I don't support that. But if there is like a comprehensive policy of here's how we're going to like stop the drug war, here's how we're going to like financially disempower the cartel and like shift that money towards like white industries, and like local farmers or like local communities, and at the same time like not only provide the means to the communities to defend themselves against the cartel, but I mean these cartels are oftentimes much more heavily armed and powerful than the local communities. You are going to have to blow up some of their strongholds and their like the
Yeah,
areas that
but
they have
hold on.
massive control
Okay,
over.
with Mexico, and then I'll use Venezuela almost specifically. Venezuela arguably is like governments arguably backing some of their cartels knowingly, right? Like with Mexico, I don't know if it's as like tacitly the government is backing them as so much it is the opposite, where the cartels like have people entrenched in power. Like
Yeah.
there's no way you are able to actually dig out every single Mexican cartel like in the way that like you could maybe do it with Venezuela, because it's like there's a couple that are made backed by the major government, and it's like the government down. With Mexico, it's the cartel in or cartel up, right? If you go in there and start trying to dig this out, you're gonna have like whole platoons, regiments. Like I mean, the Zetas are literally
Who's paying
like
them?
well, hold on. The Zetas, literally, for example, are the Mexican special forces that we trained, that were bought by the Sinaloa cartel, that broke away from them. Like you
What a
literally
gift.
have a Mexican special forces group consisting of, I think it was like 40,000 at the time. I think it's down to like 13 or 8,000 of the originals now, and they've split into two groups now. And it's like you're arguing that you're going to go in there and you're going to bomb them and carrot them, and you're literally going to have the people sending in like getting jumped by another platoon of Mexican soldiers. Like that's what has happened traditionally. Like you're going to have like it's borderline almost going to be a civil war, but with like 60 factions. I don't know that that's what we want.
They
on our
have been
border.
in a consistent civil war now for how many years? Like what I'm
It's
saying
not a
is
civil
the
war
reason
now.
why the
They
reason
have,
why
like,
the
an
Zetas
understanding.
exist, why New Generation, Jalisco, why these organizations are getting why they exist is because they're getting paid. That's why they exist. They don't exist for an ideological purpose. They're not like Al Qaeda in the sense that like they don't have this kind of grand vision. They are there because it's incredibly lucrative to get in the drug trade compared to other economic industries in Mexico. And so if you make it no longer profitable to be part of that, and you and then you also apply force of look, you're not getting any money out of this, and if you're going
That's
to be
not
part of these
true.
organizations,
They do have
you're going to
ideology.
risk death.
No, that's not true at all. This
What
just
is the
shows you don't. Hold on.
ideology
This
of
just shows
the
you don't know the
Sinaloa
history of
cartel?
the Mexican cartels. The Mexican cartels specifically were founded back in the day, right? Originally because they were poor farmers trying to organize together against corrupt corrupt Mexican government they saw they didn't like, and then they found out, hey, marijuana makes money and can fund our stuff, and then they had different people take over. So you sit here. Some of these cartels are like regional,
about
like militias.
now.
And now it's the same thing. You have regional militias be formed. Some of them end up fighting the cartels for decades, and then they turn into a cartel of their own. It's traditional Mexico. This has happened since time immemorial, like since they were founded. I just don't see you getting rid of this when it's a cultural aspect of this.
Are you denying that the major cartels right now that exist with Mexico are not financially driven? Like they exist because it's profitable to traffic drugs.
I would say sure, that is like a major reason they exist. But it's not the act like
So
you're just
yeah,
gonna have. But to
you
act
might
like
have
that's
one
the
or two
only
people-
reason is like a false dichotomy. This isn't like the Colombian cartels.
It's the only reason to like the extent of like removing it would make them no longer operationally a problem.
No.
Yes, I
It's
cannot
very.
deny
It's,
that you might
if
find
this was like
some
the
small group,
if
okay,
this was
but
like
I'm
the
saying
Colombian
generally.
cartels, you would be right. But there is an ideological aspect to them, and there's also
And
a
they
second.
collapse
Hold
as
on,
soon as their,
hold on. But there's a
competitors
second
got
part of
shut.
this that you're not factoring in, which is the like corruption culture that is Mexico. Like I feel like when I say that, people are gonna be like, oh, whatever. But Mexico's always been like notoriously corrupt, and I don't think you're gonna just unbake that like overnight. Like I mean, you can look at all the way back to Santa Ana.
anyone
He
say
literally
that
bought his
Michael
way
said
in.
2 years.
I'm not
Yeah,
saying
2
we're going to
years
solve
is pretty much
corruption
overnight.
in Mexico. I never said we're going to solve.
Well, you said
corruption
you were
in
going to solve
Mexico.
all problems. To be fair, you did say
True.
that.
I did say that, yeah.
I mean, we can look back to
No
all the way back
problem.
to like Santa Ana, retaking
years.
power 2 or 3 times
kicked him.
by getting like hacienda owners on his side to corruptly buy an army for him to like
I'm going to
retake
amend
over.
what I said.
I'm just like I don't
Now you
know.
want-
It
I'm
feels
not
like you just
amending
don't know
that.
Mexico
I'm gonna
history
open the
here.
window.
No, what is
Amend it.
here? Look, I'm not saying we can solve every problem. That was hyperbolic. Okay.
Okay.
But I'm saying that the cartel is a major problem, and they are a unique problem, and they're not like other corruption. Like it's not like other corruption in Mexico. These are incredibly profitable pseudo government entities that have taken over entire areas, and they rule with impunity, and they're horribly barbaric, and they kill a lot of innocent people. And by the way, Gibbs, that drives a lot of the illegal immigration that you're concerned about. 'Cause
Sure.
people don't want to live under the thumb of these tyrants that have established themselves in contradiction to the democratic will of the people there. The solution is what happens to tyrants. You have to cut off their way of holding power, and then sometimes you got to cut off the head.
Okay, but like I'm saying,
And look, maybe you're afraid of they're getting you. I mean, you're close to the border.
Wait, Gibbs, aren't you like all manifest destiny?
okay, if we wanted to actually go and conquer Mexico, I would be willing to entertain this. But that's
Oh,
not what
to conquer
that's not what hold on. There's a reason why I say that, and I think that, like
I don't know how
listen.
this tracks.
Okay, I'll show you. All right, right.
Looking pretty
So
reasonable
Mexico,
now.
okay, Mexico, right? Like I've said, if we go back throughout their history, I could go back to all the way back to like Santa Anna. I can go further back to Spain when they controlled it. We can see a clear idea of cultural corruption throughout their history. Before the cartels, we had fucking Pancho Villa. We had Santa Anna, literally the dictator of Mexico at several different points in time. He was backed by different power groups that had control over different regions, and they put him in power several times. Like we can look back throughout their history, right? The only way we get rid of that is if we go and manifest destiny it, and then we actually force American culture to change them over the next 100 years.
So it's
That's
either
not going to
manifest destiny
happen.
or nothing.
Yeah,
There's nothing in between that.
no. I mean, I do think there's an in between. I mean, I don't think y'all will like the in between. I think the only actual in between would be to like empower the cartels in a legitimate way, and then maybe bring them into the government and be recognized, and then they can stamp out future cartels from coming to power. I don't think that would be the more
Reward
likely.
the cartels.
I mean, sometimes you got to play the game, and like might be nasty, but if they have this much power and they're this entrenched, I don't think
Gibbs,
you're going to
when
get
have
them by
you been
taking away.
against blowing something up? Like this is
Because
this is like
I don't want to do.
fucking-
Hold on, I don't want to do half-ass bullshit. I want to go in there and I want to solve.
drones to bomb the border. And I'm
Yeah,
just
well,
saying,
that's
like,
not
instead of
half-assed.
blowing up like the kids running, just blow up the fucking cartel.
Well, cool. Instead of us just wasting our drones, blowing up some people in the random city that's going to cause more people to hate us, as Prime say, let's go in there and conquer the city, and then maybe they'll have a better time after American influence has been there for 50 years. I think that's a much more.
Just to be
realistic
clear, we're gonna have the legal drug industries. Like it's gonna
Sure.
be like we can.
Yeah, or I'll give
the
you one more scenario. The
financial
U.S. shouldn't
aspect
be
gonna
involved.
fine.
We should militarize our drug companies and let them handle the cartels.
That's one way of doing it. It's a very ANCAP way of it.
Yeah, let's just let
that.
Wait, wait, hold on. You're saying that like
Like, give Pfizer, the PMC,
we
Yeah,
allow
a
Pfizer
private
to make
army.
cocaine, and then now Pfizer's competing against the cartel,
and let them go handle them.
and then we remove all like liability concerns on Pfizer with what they do with the code.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, we can have the Taco Bell wars, but for cartels versus we can be
Yeah, the
Sinaloa.
Taco Bell wars.
Yeah, we can be for Sinaloa versus Pfizer. We'll see who wins that one. My money's on the Americans on that one. Oh, I froze.
Oh,
I'm back. They got me, bro. They got me. I froze.
Yeah, they got you. I want to hear from our friend Doobie, because I want to. I've been trying to weasel this back, like pull it back to tourism and to like talking about the industries that are affecting these local areas. If you can mute yourself, Gibbs, we got a little background stuff. No problem, friend. But yeah, I want to so like is tourism is profitable? Like, so does that make it something that should be prioritized? Something that should maybe not be questioned or expanded, right? Or can we reform these industries, right? Is that possible? I want to what are your thoughts on this and everything else you've been hearing, DB?
So I actually mostly agree with Lactoid, though I think I would go harder than he is suggesting. And I wouldn't legalize drugs, of course. I think that's silly. I would just make it impose draconian measures on anybody who buys or sells drugs. Execute most of them, and I think over time that problem will fix itself. Anyway, so the tourism thing, yeah, I think that tourism, like any other industry, should serve the people first. Right, it should exist, and it's allowed to exist within an area. Right, companies are allowed to exist within an area, to serve the interests of this community, which is the way that I feel most companies should operate, right? And if it's not serving the community, then it should be regulated in such a way that it does serve the community. And if there's no fit, if they can't get that to work out, then it doesn't get to exist, and you replace it with something that is beneficial to the community.
What about gentrification? So I want to hear Latwood's thoughts on this later on. But yeah, gentrification, like, and I think that this is, we've talked about this. I know you and me have talked about this in the past, Doobie. This is always a very tough conversation because, well, with the economics of it, like if an area is doing better, right? If that's doing better, well, that oftentimes, involves like property prices going up. When an area is doing better, it doesn't necessarily mean that everyone in that area is doing better. And as property prices rise, people get pushed out, right? And then others, more economically advantaged individuals end up moving in, and then the character of the neighborhood changes, and then everything shifts, right? Is that process simply natural and something that just can't be avoided, and something that's maybe demonized unfairly, or is it something that we can actually take precautions against? It's something that we should care about.
I think that in a lot of cases, gentrification is unfairly demonized. Typically, it's like, oh, these white people are moving in and opening up coffee leaf and tea, whatever the fuck, tea shops, right? Coffee bean and tea leaf shops, or they're opening up, silly bougie outlet stores, right? And replacing local businesses that have been there for ages that just can't compete with them, or can't afford the increases in like leasing rates and rent rates or whatever the fuck. So I think that the reality is, if you want an area to do well, part of doing better is going to be an increase in property prices. Property prices. And yeah, so you're going to price some people out. It sucks, but the alternative is kind of like what you leave the area stuck in the slum, like don't let it improve. And there are ways to counter gentrification, right? For like you can do like rent stabilization. You can cap like rent rates or rent hikes. Like we have that here in California. Like I can only increase my rent for my tenants like a certain percentage every year, and I do. No, I'm joking. I typically don't. But if I wanted to, thered be a cap on how much I can do it, right? And I think that makes sense. So rather than have people, have people's rent jump up like overnight, right? You're slowly over time easing them into the new reality, right? And hopefully, as the area is doing better, they'll be doing better financially, and over time they can afford to like live there at normal, reasonable rates. And I think that I don't know. I feel like another big thing with like specifically with like touristy areas are like short-term rental homes or short-term rentals, like for Airbnb and shit like this. Like people will buy up houses, buy up little properties, and then stick them on Airbnb and just like use it as like a money generator all year, which makes sense financially for these people, right? But you are eating up the available housing in the area, right? And because you're eating it up with Airbnb shit, you're effectively replacing the local population like over time. So that can be very detrimental to a community, I think. But I think there are ways you can cap this too, right? You can cap have licenses for it. You can ban like ghost hotels that investors put together. You can ban or you can cap like the amount of nights a place can be rented out a year, or require that people that own the property actually live in the community or live in the area or whatever permanently. There are ways to like combat just investors coming in and buying everything up, which is what seems to tend to happen in these situations. But I think long term, the reality is, unfortunately, for people living there, that it's going to get more expensive, right? As investment is attracted to an area. And if they can't keep up with that, if they can't raise their income and raise themselves to meet that new demand, then yeah, they just need to move, like at some point, which sucks. But I mean, I think that's kind of the reality.
Before I hand this over to Lactoid or anyone else who wants to discuss this, like I'm really glad that you mentioned Doobie um the short-term rentals, right? That's huge, right? That's been a massive contributor to price hikes, and not just in these like low-income nations, but everywhere, including here in the States. Um,
Big time
uh,
here in the States.
big time, right? Yeah, there's just and it compounds itself because right, uh, investors buy up these houses, right? No, houses and then apartments, right? They buy all of these things up that would have been on the market for others, like for families, for individuals, people just starting off their lives. These are the properties that would have been involved. They all get taken up, and it's they like are running people through these areas, right? So like there's a lot of like foot traffic, and these like in terms of like destruction, right? These are the most destructive in terms of like the type of guests are coming through and like their impact on the neighborhood, just the most destructive of them all. But yeah, causing rates to rise. There's been mass protests like around the world against Airbnb. And another way of doing it, not just the solutions our friend Doopy put forth, which are pretty good solutions, but some places have just kicked Airbnb out altogether. Like we're just not doing this anymore, right? We'd rather have that supply available to us. I remember long gone are the days, because I remember when Airbnb like first started to pick up, right, way back when. I had a friend who did Airbnb right out of his apartment, right? Talked about like how he would like be like a great host and like show people around and like be like a concierge for them and act off like a bespoke service experience. Those are long gone. Those are fucking long gone, right? Like just like talk to the people who use Airbnb. That's just not how it works anymore. Instead, you get charged a shitload of fees, right? Like a laundry fee. For and you have to like do the work. You have to like do the housekeeping and all that, right? And then
still get charged a cleaning fee.
And still get charged of bullshit, right? And like the people who are who own these things, right? They own a bunch of these. They own a bunch of these properties, right? And they're not even managing it directly. They have like a manager in between, right? Like those days are gone, right? So that we're not like screwing over like mom and pop individuals who are just trying to get a little extra cash. No, we're talking about large corporations, large investment outfits, right? Yeah, that stuff that needs to go. That needs to go, in my opinion. In one way or the other, either the soft way that Doobie was talking about, or the airstrike way, which I'm talking about, and just toss them out. No more Airbnb.
Or
But
capital punishment like Doobie wants.
like our focus is different, right?
Draconian laws like Doobie.
Doobie would punish drug users, right? Like the least of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would punish the corporate masters, right? The most
I would do
powerful.
both, to be clear. I punish everybody.
Okay. But if Lacto wants to take it or anyone else wants to jump in,
I disagree with your Airbnb banning proposal, obviously.
Wait,
It's
why?
bad. There's a reason why it's rent control. And there's a reason why economists on both sides of the aisle are opposed to rent control, right? Rent control here being we don't like how much this rental is charging. That's what you guys are complaining about.
that's not rent
We're
control.
saying
That's
talking
not.
about
But
rent
yeah, it's not
control.
rent control at all.
that is so the definition of rent control is we want to control the amount you can charge for this rent.
No, we're talking about like this is basically a zoning issue. This is a zoning issue.
No,
more
hold
than
on.
anything.
It's functionally rent control. You're saying these Airbnbs, they're charging a bunch of money for short-term rentals.
It's not. Hold on. What about all this other stuff I said? Right, like I said specifically, they're taking the
I'm
supply.
going to get into it,
Okay,
but
I'm sorry.
yeah,
But
that's
it's
fine.
not rent control. But sorry,
It is rent control, right?
Oh, I'll leave it
No,
alone.
I get
I'll
from
let
the
you
perspective
case.
he's coming from. I get where he's.
Yeah,
calling
it is by
rent control. Go
definition.
off.
So for
I'll make it
example, like
right.
like if you Airbnb, let's say they charge like $100 for 3 nights or whatever. If you aggregate that out to a month, it's going to be a whole bunch of money. You're saying that that's too much money, right? They're charging too much for rent. We have to put in some kind of controls, whether it be like kind of the traditional
No,
rent control.
that's
that
not
we-
what he's saying.
Banning it is a type of control.
Okay, so what's happening is right? Airbnb or people, investors are coming in and they're buying out apartments, right? It's not the rents. It's not the rents. They're taking up the supply of apartments. And because they're lucrative, right, the property values around them are going to go up because there's money to be made for other investors. So other places are being sold. And then while that's happening, because there's so much influx in the city, because there's so much like Airbnbs and so much vacation, it's now like a touristy location, right? Rents are then going up. And the majority of the people who live in the communities are being pushed out because they can't keep up with.
I
X amount.
understand
So
the
it wasn't
argument.
rent control.
No, it is. I understand the argument. I'm telling you, like by definition, it is.
Buying out apartments is rent control.
Yes. If I was a landlord and I bought out a bunch of apartments and raised the rent, and you said I can't do that, if I bought up all the supply and then raised the rent 500%, and you say no, Lactoid, you can't do that, is that rent control?
That's not what's happening. You're telling a
I'm
company
asking
or a
it's hypothetical.
corporation as an
It's-
investor, as a
yeah.
landlord.
No. I am a company. Let's say companies can be landlords. In fact, most are. So let's say I'm a company. All right. I start a company, Lactoid LLC. Anybody can fucking do it. And then I buy up like a large piece of real estate in a area, and then I jack up the rents 500%. If you tell me that I can't do that, this would be rent control.
Or buying up apartments in the middle of suburbs, right, or the middle of
Wherever I buy them.
communities where it's supposed to be living. No, and then turning them into hotels, right? Because there's a loophole of having residential homes be rented out. Those are two different things. It's not jacking up the rent. The issue isn't jacking up the rent. The issue is that you can't even rent these places because they're being bought up by investors to be turned into hotels, essentially.
Short-term rentals.
Well, it's hotels. Like, that's really what you're turning apartment complexes into. It's hotels. You go to a hotel. You go to hotels nowadays. I went to a hotel in Philadelphia. I use Airbnb, and you go outside of these buildings, and it's like, first of all, most of the apartments in the fucking building are Airbnbs, and people are just using codes to get in, or there's a bunch of padlocks lined up outside of the building. I mean, like,
but hold on,
the community isn't living there.
Hold on, Lactoid's right. But let me give you an example that's not Airbnb. Let me give you an example not Airbnb though, Ollie.
No, wait.
Hold on. But this is on the last. This is Lactoid's point.
I'm annoyed because
Say I'm an
by
oil.
definition,
Say I'm an oil guy, right? And I go out to West Texas, and a trust fund has bought a apartment complex. They've turned it into what they call like a suites, right? You go in there and you rent these out for 2 weeks to 3 weeks at a time. That's still a short-term rental, even though they're paying $200 a week or so, because that's $600 or whatever. They have a little suite. Now, this is somebody that's going there and working and living there for 3 weeks at a time, then going back home to wherever they actually live for a week or 2 weeks, and then coming back, right? And they're renting these little places for 3 weeks. That's also a short-term rental, and that's not what you're. But that falls under the category of the thing
that's
that you're talking about
to the community,
yeah,
right? You have
that's
workers
true.
coming in, they need a
However,
place to stay temporarily.
okay,
This is
right.
different
I understand
than,
that, but
like,
what Lactoid is saying. What Lactoid is saying is if you start messing with the short-term rentals and putting rent control, that's also going to eliminate.
Doesn't have to be rent control.
That is
He's
rent
not
control.
saying implement rent control. No, the issue is if you have a community that's cheap enough that investors are looking into, like the gentrification thing, right? But they're not even gentrifying it for people to buy or like rent long term. They're gentrifying it and turning these places into hotels. So it's not even members of the community that are able to purchase it because there is no purchase, right? You're turning it into a hotel, which is literally made for 1 week to 2 week rentals. This isn't short-term stays for workers that are coming into the town. So you're pushing out the community who isn't able to purchase, which is why so many like places have banned it. One, it's not good for most communities to just have random suburbs be turned into hotel areas because you have random people coming in, parking. They're just doing noise disturbances. They're fucking the apartments up, so on and so forth. But beyond that, the members of the community are being pushed out. This isn't a rent. I mean, I guess you can consider it a rent control issue.
So let's say there's an Airbnb that offers 3 day in a row stays.
I've rented an Airbnb for 30 days.
Could I rent out 3 day stays in a row to the point where I have a whole year in that Airbnb?
You can rent Airbnbs out for 30 days straight if you want
can do that with hotels. We understand this, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, we could. And in fact, many hotels offer extended stay rates. In fact, a lot of people live in hotels.
So should hotel companies be able to buy out houses and turn houses into essentially short-term stay or like mini hotels?
Yes.
This is okay. This should be a thing, and this would be a positive thing for the community, right? Not a positive thing for the company, but for the community and like the people that are living around there.
It is. It is a good.
It is how if they can't afford to live there, how is it good for the people that are there? if they're being
Yes.
pushed out? Explain this.
Because this is the reason why rent control is universally opposed by both right-wing and left-wing economists. Because when you remove financial incentives to create new housing, when you remove that financial incentive, which rent control does, less people are interested in developing housing, whether it be hotels, whether it be new Airbnb rentals, whether it be longer-term apartments, whether it be houses that you actually want to sell.
But
right?
if you're
Because
building out
all
new
the
housing and pricing out the people that live there, and the people that live there can no
I'm
longer
getting
live
there.
there,
I'm
that's
getting
not good
there.
for the community.
Okay, I'm telling you, it's like much worse for the community to have this sort of anemic policy put into place that stymies new housing creation. The only way to solve housing pricing long term is to build new housing. This is how you do it.
Or
Even
fix
if it's
the housing that
no,
currently
no,
exists.
no.
Or reinvest within. No. It's just to
If
build
more
new
supply,
shit that people can't
yes.
afford.
No, yes, because what happens is
Yes,
if you build
yeah.
if you build if you build a whole bunch of super expensive new housing, then the rich people go move there and they leave what? What do they
Yeah.
leave? They leave the housing that they were staying in.
That
whether
other
it be in
people
that-
still can't afford because it's too expensive to
Oh,
afford.
wait. But there's a chain. There's a hierarchy. Because there's somebody on the. I'm okay. You guys can disagree with this. Every economist agrees with me. So
I don't
I'm trying to
give a fuck
explain
what
to you.
economists say.
I know. Even the left. Even on the left, everybody agrees rent control is bad, except for like people who don't know about economics.
Yeah,
That's it.
people who are paying rent, right? The people who are paying rent don't agree with that rent control is bad because they're being priced out because the rents are
Because
going
they have
up.
this
So if they
myopic
can't
view.
stay somewhere,
Because they have
and
this
they can't go
myopic
anywhere else.
No, because they have this myopic view where they're not interested in this, and they see their rent. It went up this year. This is bullshit, right? That's what they see.
They can't afford it. It's bullshit. That's all that matters.
But what
Yes.
economists are looking at is housing supply in an area. They're looking at overall housing cost increases. They're looking at housing availability.
Yes, and on paper, to the economists, everything is doing fine.
Are people able to move in or not? And consistently,
They aren't.
Consistently, rent control is one of the most not like. Hold on. You can be a commie and support better policies than rent control. You could support building public housing. That would be like better economically. I disagree with it for tax reasons or whatever, but that would be better economically than rent control. Like rent control is uniquely.
I just don't want people living in public
policy.
housing or
Let me-
living in public housing. When we can
sorry.
just go ahead.
Let me jump in. One, I do support public housing, right? Only because in other countries, right, they actually back public housing. In other countries, public housing is extremely desirable. Lots of people want to go to. Right? And one of the massive mistakes, quote unquote mistakes we made here, right, if not done specifically on purpose, is that we made public housing, we rent or income capped public housing, meaning only poor people could go in, right? Rather than having a mixed income public housing like other places do. They have literally fantastic public housing blocks, right, around the world. This is something that can be done. I do support that, right? I do support the government directly building housing and not living up to the market. But beyond that, we can argue about that some other time, and you can all realize I'm right. Is the thing I wanted to tackle is what our friend Lackway talked about. Like, well, you can just build more super expensive apartments, right? Real estate, right? You can build that, and then the rich people will move from the one area into the other. Except, literally, that has not been happening, right? In New York City, right? That's just a microcosm, but like you can expand this to other places, right? In New York City, they've been doing exactly this. They've been building massive high rises of super highly expensive apartments, right? Where no one, certainly not, well, maybe
dead empty,
to live there, but for everyone else, none of the rest of us can afford to live there. However, they're empty, like our friend Ali said, because they're being used as investment vehicles. They're not being used as Airbnb. They're just being used as a place to sink your money, not just for American rich assholes,
Chinese,
but for foreign rich assholes, right? They park their money into American real estate. It doesn't matter like how expensive it is or where the property happens to be, right? As long as they can just put a lot of their money there and then extract it later through a sale, that's good enough. These are just investment vehicles. And so, yes, the technically the amount of supply, right, has increased, right? Like there are more apartments because you just made a building of them, but no one is
people
living
can live in,
right? No one.
There's a problem. There was a problem in a college town that I went to where there was a Chinese investment firm trying to buy out apartment complexes and turn them into luxury condos that no one in the town would be able to afford. Therefore, and they were going to sell to like the Chinese. What like that isn't good for the community.
No, I understand. Yes, you can point to very specific anecdotal examples where.
No, it's not anecdotal. It's what's happening all the time.
You gave me a specific anecdotal.
Yes,
example.
I gave you one, but that's like a general thing.
So
that's
I'm about to
happening
give you a
across
stat.
the land.
No, it actually statistically you're incorrect. Between right here, between 2010 and 2023, housing supply in New York City, you brought up New York, increased by 4%, while the open jobs increased by 22%. New York is famous for having a bad amount of housing supply increase relative to housing demand. For like over a decade now, their construction of new housing, in part driven by massive regulations that New York places, including rent control, including certain zoning requirements, they have a huge dearth of new housing supply for the actual housing demand. Yes,
Yeah,
this is what is driving New York's problem.
But short-term rentals. Okay, so there's multiple things happening here. One, again, that doesn't invalidate the point that I just made, right? Like, where supply, quote unquote, like would be included in that supply number that you said the 4% would be these ultra expensive units that have been created, but no one is living there. So yes, supply has increased, right? But like no one's actually living there. It doesn't actually do anything to lower demand at all, right? Like they're just
it's financially disadvantageous to like have these and not rent them. Because you're paying taxes on that.
They're sinking their money and they're
paying taxes on. You're paying maintenance costs. You're paying taxes on that. Like you have to like yes, I know some people are banking on like the value of the housing unit going up fast. Yeah, appreciating faster than all the expenses. That is a incredibly risky investment, and it's not like it doesn't play out long term unless you're talking about very niche markets.
Sorry, Colin. Not all of them are looking for an appreciating asset, right? Like even if it depreciates to a certain extent, the point is to park your money outside of your local laws, right? So when we're talking about foreign investors, yeah, they're just looking to park their money, even if it depreciates somewhat. Like it's fine, right? Like as long as most of their money is there, they'll be fine. As long as like the market doesn't crash.
Okay, so then they're paying money in property taxes and they're not even using the services. They're literally just donating money to New York at that point. They're not living there. They're not using the streets. They're not using anything.
Hold on.
And the supply is being taken while the
because friend, right? Land does not increase. You understand this. Land doesn't increase. Oh,
I understand
right?
this. I understand
okay, great.
Increase.
So I'm glad we're on the same level.
So why New York built up.
So when we build these apartments, right? Like that means we can't build another thing on that piece of land. That land is now occupied, right? Well, we could have used that land for other types of housing, right? Housing that other people could actually afford to use. That doesn't happen anymore. When we have units in these short-term rentals, yes, that you could say there's an increase. Well, you wouldn't say. But with short-term rentals, there's not necessarily increase in supply unless they like subdivide the units. But assuming they don't do that, right? There's not an increase in supply because and it doesn't deal with the demand, right? Of those increased jobs, right? That doesn't actually help lower that demand because obviously people can't afford to live in those, right? That's short-term rentals is not where people go to live their lives. So that's not the type of demand. Just like just all supply isn't equal, right? All units aren't equal. All units don't actually address the problems that we're talking about. We're talking about the average individual, right? What can we do for these? We were literally talking about gentrification previously, right? What can we do to alleviate these issues? And so when we're talking about getting rid of short-term rental, that means actually increasing the real supply, right? The supply
I understand the logic, and this. If I could just finish this point, I understand the logic behind it. You're saying, hey, if we take away the short-term rentals and force them to turn them into long-term rentals, then we have a whole bunch more supply of long-term rentals. And yes, we don't have this short-term rental supply, but now we have more long-term rental supply, and that's going to cause the price of long-term rentals to go down. Do I have your logic more or less correct?
Yeah, that's part of what I want. But yes.
We can just do what the Saudis do and just build more land.
Hold on. We're not. No, you don't have to build You don't have to build more land. Okay. You don't have to build more
problem
land.
solved.
So So the reason why rent control doesn't work is there is a consistent principle of you want like the housing supply, regardless of the type, right? Because you still need hotels in New York. You still need like short-term places for people to stay in New York City. Like the demand should be driving what level of housing supply there is in an area, right? You want housing supply to meet whatever demand there is. If there's a huge demand for long-term residents, you want the builders to be able to meet that demand unfettered by rent control, which New York does
Sure.
do on. hold
How,
on,
how,
which,
how about
wait,
this?
wait. Which New York does do on long-term rentals. If you want, there's a bunch of people who need to go and stay in New York for plenty of reasons. It is the financial capital of the world, right? People to stay there for short periods of time. You want the market to respond to that demand as well. Like you have to have the housing market be flexible and reactive to demand. All rent control does, whether you put it on the short-term rentals or the long-term rentals, is it disrupts what the actual demand of the market is, which causes a shortage. And if you have a shortage in one area, this creates a shortage in other areas. Because what happens? What happens if you can't get a short-term rental? If you're a company and you can't get a short-term rental for business trips, I'm going to buy a house. I'm going to buy some kind of long-term apartment, and then we're going to use that going forward. We're going to buy a long-term apartment, and then we're going to make it some kind of timeshare. We're going to work out some kind of timeshare theory, and then we're going to have a whole bunch of different companies buy shares in this timeshare, and then, we're going to ban timeshares too then. Well, then we're going to find some host who's going to bring them in as guests. We're going to figure something out because we're not going to give up going to New York when the stock market's there.
We act like demand and supply end up like perfectly matching, finding this magic equilibrium that just like eventually works out. It
Yes.
meets all of the needs, right, of all these various groups. That's not how that works, right? The ones with the most capital are the ones who have their needs met, right? If we're talking about, which I'm talking about, I know you're not talking about this, but if we're talking about having a city, right, that that is built to meet the needs of the people who actually live there, right, and putting that as their priority, and then everything else is secondary, then that changes things. It alters how we look at the landscape. But I was thinking, right, so one, I've seen plenty of economists talking about the dangers of short-term rentals, right? Like we were talking about like economic analysis, right? They talk specifically about how short-term rentals tend to be a danger for a pain point, excuse me, like for this for the market, right? And the market doesn't adjust, and certainly we don't build supply, right, as fast, especially in a place as dense as New York, right? We can't build supply as fast as corporations can buy up the supply of the existing supply of housing, right? We can't build more housing as fast as they can buy, and you can just build a new apartment complex and they can just buy the whole thing out, right? We put literally zero controls on it, and they can just buy the whole thing out. They have the ability, they have the capital, they have the resources to do that, right? And in return, because creating supply is so intensive, resources intensive, and simply buying supply is so easy. Then you have an imbalance. It's simply the case. And we see that within the market, right? So these things aren't the same. There's just magical balance that libertarians think will eventually shake itself out, right? But beyond that,
let me address that specifically.
beyond that, let me just you can respond. I promise you,
move
will
to something
respond.
else.
I promise, right? With two things. We have a super chat. Let me get the super chat, but I have a quick thing I want to say. Let's just get the super chat. A super chat, $5 from Alexander Wynn. Thank you so much, Lactoid. Okay. I'm gonna ask this question in a second, right? So I'm gonna say my thing, and then I'm gonna say this, and we're gonna throw it all back to Lactoid, and you can respond. So I was thinking, Lactoid, this is a question to you. What about instead, like trying to build bridges here, right, with libertarians? Always a dangerous endeavor. But what about instead, right? Not like banning short-term rentals. You can do a short-term rental if you want, but not through a service like Airbnb. It's not like short-term rentals didn't exist beforehand, right? People had the abilities to do that, but Airbnb makes industry supercharges this industry, which allows people to easily build a business and buys the supply so easily, right? Like that, now they can still do that. Like we're not taking one single apartment away from them, right? but they have to build their own platforms, but they aren't able to leverage like the reach of Airbnb. Like, is that something you'd be interested in? And so I'm gonna read the super chat and then I'm toss it to you. You can answer all of that. Okay. First, Alexander went $5. He says, "Do you have any evidence that short-term rentals drive new housing development?" So yeah, that it tracks what we've been saying. So you can answer that when you like. And then another $5 from Alexander Wynn. Thank you so much. Says, if not, are you arguing that regardless of the effect of the short-term rentals, price controls are far more damaging? If yes, how do you know that? So you can answer all that.
Yeah, I'm referencing all like empirical research on price controls causing shortages and being negative overall for like market reactions. I'm referencing the even more robust evidence that this is like very much the case with housing specifically. That rent controls, which this is, I know you guys don't want to say it is, but when you're putting limits on how long someone can rent something out, and you're putting limits on how much they can charge for renting something out, you are rent controlling. You are putting rent controls on a particular industry. You might not be doing it in the traditional sense in which we like, hey, we're going to put a rent control on a specific apartment. That's kind of how we understand it, but it is rent control. You're saying that you own this piece of property and we don't like what you're doing with it. We don't like that you're charging this much for it, and we want you to have it be at a lower rate for a longer period of time. You are pushing for rent control. I'm more than happy to share all the empirical evidence demonstrating that rent control is negative. It is bad for the housing supply. It is bad for generating income. Not generating income, generating housing for people, right? That's what we're talking about. I'm not even trying to make like this is why I try to emphasize this is like popular in both the right wing and the left wing in terms of like economists, kind of the plurality of economists agree. Yes, you're going to find one or two hacks that are going to say, oh, this is great. But just like you can find somebody who's funded by the oil lobby who's going to say that climate change isn't real. I can link you some of them and say, hey, look, climate change, I don't know about that. But the vast majority of experts on this issue consistently say, hey, yeah, this has a lot of negative effects. This is not good for the housing supply. I'm not trying to turn this into like a libertarian thing. There are commie fuck ways to address housing that don't involve rent control. If you are like, hey, this is bullshit. Like, supply and demand sucks. What about the people who can't like participate in the supply and demand game? Okay. Then support public housing. Then support having the government build public housing places and then have the people live there who can't afford it otherwise. For the people who have money, you want them playing by the rules of supply and demand because those are market forces, okay? I would say I want everybody playing by market forces, but obviously you don't because there's some people who don't have the capital or the means to play by market forces. For those people, just support public housing. Rent control specifically is toxic, right? Because it affects everybody else negatively. It's not just about, yes, and yet technically by taxing people and building public housing, you're going to affect everybody negatively, but not to the same extent if you limit the housing supply. Now you've reduced the flexibility of an area because the housing supply is not meeting the demand necessary for not only the people living there, but people who are potentially moving into an area, people who, if people leave an area, it's going to, that probably is going to affect it a little bit less because, the house rent you would suppose would fall in that case, and then you would see overall housing be able to contract. But it doesn't give an area the flexibility necessary to actually function as a city. I can post some stuff.
Just to add to what you're saying, Lactoid, I think that you can also look at other factors too, right? And there's going to be areas that are not following the regulations as much as they're going to take advantage, right? If you look at, for example, New York is a great example. I was talking to the chat. Dallas now has a stock exchange, right? Why does Dallas have a stock exchange? Well, because major Fortune 500 companies have been moving to Texas and specifically Dallas and putting their new headquarters there, building campuses there because they have more room to expand, et cetera, et cetera. They have places where people can build houses and like live there, and they have all these cities. We see all over Texas is happening. And I feel like what you're not realizing is whenever you start putting restrictions like rent control on places like New York, well, these people are going to want to park their money where they can do business. And they're going to just leave. And they're going to come to places like Texas where we're not doing that.
Great.
And you say great. You say great. But then guess what?
Yes.
Okay, that sounds good. Let's just follow that line of thought. Say I own a stockbroker company, right? Let's say I'm Merrill Lynch, and I decide I'm going to move to Texas. Okay, well, cool. All the stockbrokers are gone, but all the people that had jobs as janitors,
all the stockbrokers are going to leave New York City.
Yeah, why not? They're just going to go to another place that's got stock exchange.
Yeah,
why not?
Why not?
Hold on. Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they, Prime? You're acting like people haven't had
because the New York Stock Exchange. That's why. Right?
Okay, and why wouldn't they just go to the Dallas Stock Exchange?
That's always.
Hold on. Why wouldn't they go to the Dallas Stock Exchange?
No, Because it's not the New York stock.
Well, why would they? Oh, so you're saying that? Hold on, but hold on. You act okay. So that's you know what your argument you're making is. You're making the same argument. You're making the same argument. Why are people going to go to see? Why are people going to go to Walmart and I can just go to Sears and then Sears goes out of business? It's exactly the same argument.
There are local markets, right? Or local industries, right?
Okay.
That aren't replicated other places.
But they can be.
What happens every time when New York tries to raise taxes on anything, right? So stepping away from the housing just for a moment. Whenever time New York tries to raise pricing, right? Well, you get the CNBC types, right? You get the Fox Business types. You get the Wall Street Journal types that say, well, the rich are going to abandon New York City any second now. They're going to start fleeing because of the socialist authoritarian idea of like.
I mean, but we already have proof of this, Prime. We already have proof that the stock. Hold on, we already have proof. Hold on, we already have proof that the financial center of America is moving from New York to Dallas. Like that's already happening in real time.
They do business there. There's a reason why these people do business in those particular areas. No, they don't just flee that way.
But they are fleeing.
Would that necessarily be a bad idea to have less rich fucks there? Right? I don't know. Right? Maybe they could go and enrich the economy somewhere else. I'd be willing to explore that.
But the New York Stock Exchange itself is moving to Dallas. You understand that, right?
Things are slightly less cheap, right? The economy works isn't as leveraged to their advantage as it usually is, right? It's utter nonsense. Like we see this.
No, it's not nonsense. I can give you the exact specifics. For example, the New York Stock Exchange is they've already moved their Chicago-based electronic exchange to Dallas. So you're just wrong. I can list a whole bunch of other companies that are doing it. The Chicago electronic base. That's the thing that runs the stock exchange in New York. Their electric based, their online thing. That's based in Chicago. They've already moved that to Dallas. All right. I can look at NASDAQ. Okay, it is what I'm talking about. Is you're talking about the other industries, the supplemental. Hold on. I'm talking about the specific stock exchange, and I'm talking about all the supporting industries that you were just talking about that can't be replicated. They are absolutely can be replicated, and they are being replicated in Dallas right now. And we're seeing a massive shift in stockbrokers moving to Dallas. It's a massive shift. This is actual fact.
Stock exchange.
It's becoming it right now. It's literally happening as we speak.
What'd you say?
I can't see the future. I don't
know. Opinion?
Yeah.
Nothing?
$5.
It'll be a long time until it does.
Yeah, a long fucking time.
I mean, but hold on, Blacktoid, you'll agree that over-regulation in the area is going to force them to move faster. Why would you build somewhere where you're going to be over-regulated and can't even house your people to work there? Sorry,
one second.
We know that happens. It happens all the time.
Let me just get this out. $5 for houses under rent. So then, just to be clear, you don't have any specific evidence to short-term rentals. You're just pushing the negative effects of rent controls. I guess the response here would be he thinks those are one and the same, right?
I think they're one and the same. Unless you can explain to me some kind of logic as to like why they're disaggregated when you're analyzing them economically, the actual economic effects. Then
I mean, just to prove this point, though. Just to prove this point, the Chicago exchange that you were just talking about, that New York owned, the New York exchanges, had been there 143 years, and you're acting like it just can't change, and it does. It does change.
That's not the thing you were talking about.
That is exactly what I'm talking about. That is the infrastructure moving.
Infrastructure moving isn't people moving. Those are different things.
What do you mean when they're opening up campuses and moving people there?
Okay. It's fine.
I mean, you're just wrong on this one. It's
whatever.
Okay.
No, yeah, sure, right. The New York Stock Exchange is any second now is going to move over to Dallas. Any second. Hey, everyone here, hold your breath.
They're calling it Y'all Street now. That's what they're calling it, Y'all Street.
Right after all problems in Mexico are solved. Okay,
yeah,
that's going to be the pattern.
When Zoran wins, right? Like it's going to scare all the rich people. They're going to abandon in droves, right? And then Dallas Stock Exchange will now be the center of the financial world. Any second now, hold your breath.
I mean, it's already happening.
It's already.
I mean, but Prime, you're arguing that this can't change.
The premier stock.
I would argue that it's fixed to be. Yeah.
and the world. It's already happened.
I mean, they've been. Hold on. London used to be the financial capital of Europe.
Stop
Well, then why
holding
don't
your
we
breaths
just
now,
do the
guys.
regulation? It's already
I mean,
happened. So
it's
kind of
already
thing.
happening in
Nothing to
multiple
worry about.
cities.
This has already happened. The Dallas Stock Exchange.
Yeah, you're
no
acting
one
like.
fucking year knew existed. Until
Well, that's just because. Hold on. That's
right?
just because you don't pay
Until-
attention to the economic news. Doesn't mean you're correct.
yeah.
I do pay attention to the
Yeah,
economic.
sure.
We
Yeah,
can
but
see
what
why.
is
Hold
that
on. We can
about
see.
the-
Hold on. I'll
I
give you another
agree.
country
It's
where
the
this has
center.
happened. This is
You
happening
can-
in London
Lactoid
right
didn't-
now.
It's already
It-
happened. No,
and
it's already
he-
happened. I agree.
It's-
the
you know,
Dallas
talks
Stock
about
Exchange has
economists.
superseded
Yeah, but-
the New York Stock Exchange.
I mean,
Okay,
it is
great.
absolutely doing it. We already know this could happen. We happen in London. London's already lost its power.
It's happened in London too. Everything's collapsed. Everything's moved to Dallas. No,
I mean,
great.
no, that's not what I'm saying. You're just
It's
not.
all-
You
it's
just
all
make.
happening.
Hold on. You
It's
can
already
make
happened.
grandiose.
Already done.
You can make
And that's
grandiose
because we've
claims
already had
and
those
ignored actual
regulations.
facts.
Hey,
But
let's
I'm
keep
giving you
going with
actual
this. They're
facts,
already gone.
and you're arguing with actual facts. That's okay.
Yeah, the actual fact that the New York Stock Exchange has been superseded by the Dallas Stock
I
Exchange.
mean, it's becoming superseded
Great.
by. Yeah, absolutely.
It's
moving.
becoming. Oh, not it's becoming. I thought it
Hold
already
on,
happened.
hold on. It is happening.
That
It's
didn't
already
happen.
happening. It's happening currently.
No,
It's in
already
the
happened.
process
Okay,
of.
happening.
It's in the
Now,
process of
it's
happening.
right? It's in the
Hold
process.
on,
of
you
happening.
sound really
back to
dumb
holding
saying
our
it this way,
breath,
Brian.
or-
You
Sure.
sound really dumb saying it because you're acting like things don't change. When a 143-year-old institution has now moved to another city, that's a major change, and you're just sitting here acting like that's not a big deal.
The New York Stock Exchange is
It
still
has
in
moved.
New York.
It has moved. The Chicago-based one, which has been there 143 years,
The
which is the New York,
Chicago-based-
which is the New York Stock Exchange, which is the New York Stock Exchange for their online systems. That's a massive move, and we have over $3.7 trillion worth of New York companies have
This
moved to
sounds like a
Texas
data center
in
to me.
Dallas.
This sounds like a data center to me.
I mean, it's not. I mean,
Is it-
that's
is
just
it a data
so
center?
basically. You're hold on. This is what's crazy is you
I'm
just
asking.
said you just said you don't know. You didn't even know about this happening, and I'm telling you all these different.
because
hold
no
on.
one knew about this happening.
He
It's
said
still
this.
New York.
Nobody knew. I've known about this for years now that it's been coming, and I'm sitting here pointing out how the industries that you said just couldn't be replicated are being replicated and expanded in Texas, in Dallas, and you're going, oh, not happening. It's crazy. We see this happening widespread.
Here, I'm going to give a little. Like, I don't know specifically about like the. I don't think the shift for like in the New York Stock Exchange, or the Nasdaq. I don't think that's going to move over to Texas soon.
Overnight might
But,
take 2 years,
but
10
no,
years.
Yeah, but Gibbs is 100% correct that there is a massive shift of industry to the south right now. Right, there
Yeah.
has been a
I agree.
and this is because, in large part, the more favorable business climate of those areas.
Yeah, there's better tax incentives. So like Miami right now in Florida is trying to get a lot of the Silicon Valley types to get move on over there. They're offering a lot of tax incentives. But like realistically, Silicon Valley isn't going to leave California and go down to Florida, right? And there's going to be a certain point of like if you have all these industries operating with not paying any tax, right? It's like at what point is Florida just going to be like you feel like they're or just be taken advantage of, right? You have all this industry operating, and then the city or the country or the state isn't receiving any benefit from it.
I mean, they're receiving benefit. There's people working there that are getting paychecks, and then using that paycheck, they buy things in their local economy. You don't have to tax a company to have that company being there a benefit to your economy. Especially if you're taxing the incomes of everybody who's now working at this company, right?
Wait, would you? So wait, if the tax incentive is for the business to operate without paying tax, like
Well,
the
they-
business
well, they-
doesn't pay tax, but the workers are paying tax.
No, yeah. Look at this like this. So, so many fucking things are taxed, right? So, if you're a company, every time you pay an employee, you are paying a payroll tax. That employee gets the money, they're paying an income tax. The employee goes and buys something, they're paying a sales tax. They buy any property, they're buying property tax. If they get enough and they die, they pay a death tax. Like there is shit tons of taxes on every single like minutia of money transfer in this country. And so if you put in tax incentives for like, hey, business, you want to move to our area, we're not going to charge you corporate taxes for like 4 years, or we're not going to charge you taxes on this particular facility for like 4 years. That doesn't mean that the state doesn't get any tax revenue from that company existing. Like this company then establishes itself, provides a whole bunch of like jobs to people there. They get the jobs that are then paying them money. They use that money to buy property, to purchase goods, and then when they buy goods at a mall, they're paying a sales tax on that, and then they give the money to a clothing manufacturer or whatever, who's then paying taxes whenever they pay their employees, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So just getting a bunch of business in your area does improve your economy, and this has been the playbook of like a lot of the South recently, and the reason why their economies are booming is because they do give so many tax incentives, and why more business friendly climate. A lot of businesses have been moving there.
I want to
Moving
point out,
away from more business, antagonistic areas like California and New York.
I was not even correct in the scale of what I was saying. We even have a second stock exchange opening in Dallas, backed by BlackRock. That's going to be officially the Texas Stock Exchange. That's going to be excluding the stuff in the New York Stock Exchange. So this is going to be the first brand new stock exchange in over 30 years, is what I'm reading here online. So not only are there's the New York Stock Exchange moving operations and some regional operations in Texas, we have a new one backed by BlackRock and other major investors. So yeah, I would say that people can absolutely move the stock exchange, and those industries can be replicated elsewhere, especially when it looks like that's happening.
So I looked into what Gibbs was saying, right? Yes. So there is an electronic exchange.
It's been there for 146 years.
That was based in Chicago and is now based in Dallas. However, the floor of the New York Stock Exchange is still in New York. The majority of business is done in New York, right? Like the business of the exchange is done in New York. A lot of stock exchange listed companies are in Texas, right?
Over 300 have moved there in the last 10 years.
Of
the Fortune 500,
but the business, but of the business, and I don't dispute what our friend Lagwood was saying in terms of there's been a lot of business moving to the south. No, that's absolutely the case. No, but specifically the claim that I was dealing with, right? The claim that you made
is the stockbrokers are moving to Texas, which is true.
I
haven't backtracked anything. I haven't backtracked. First of all, when we have two stock exchange opening and they are absolutely moving there, hold on, I'm doubling down. I'm doubling down.
Like we're talking about the brokers.
The brokers are moving.
They moved.
Some of them have. Yes,
they haven't moved. Right. This is an electronic exchange. There isn't a floor to even go to. Right. Those there is. It's just like because the New York Stock Exchange, right? All this falls on the New York Stock Exchange. They had basically an outpost in Chicago, right? They had different outposts in other cities, right?
You understand the stockbrokers have already moved. I can start listing companies if you want.
Outpost to another city. Right, to Texas, right? They moved that, but right, like this does not.
They're opening up a third one. There's a third stock exchange now being opened. That's by the same company. You're just wrong. You're just wrong, Prime. You're just wrong. Why don't you just Google this? Google this, Prime. If stockbrokers are moving from New York to Texas, you're wrong. You're wrong.
The point isn't, hey, that
I don't listen. The facts are on my side on this one. I
don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck.
I mean, I know you don't care about the facts.
I don't give a fuck that you try to move your goalposts.
No, you can Google if stockbrokers are moving to Texas, and I'm absolutely correct.
The New York Stock Exchange moving. No, the New York Stock Exchange is not moving.
Stockbrokers are moving everywhere because they do their job online.
No, but they're specifically moving to Texas because NASDAQ is opening up a regional one in Dallas. So is that we're having an independent one and we're having a New York one. You're just wrong.
Like I said, there are other stock exchanges everywhere. There's a Tokyo Stock Exchange, right?
Yeah, sure. But this is the only one, the first one in 30 years, and that's a brand new one in Texas. You're just wrong.
Yes, no one said that they couldn't make another stock exchange. No one said
this is the first one in 30 years, Prime, and they moved regional offices here. Hold on.
No one said you couldn't do that. Okay?
Yes. Well, why is it happening in 30 years? Why is it happening in 30 years? Yes, it absolutely will.
In any time. Any second now, like I said, then hold your fucking breath because any second it's going to happen. You do that, okay? You do that. But while you're doing that, right? While you're proving us wrong, right? Because the Dallas Stock Exchange will become the center, the financial.
And NASDAQ's moving the regional office there. With plans to expand.
But any second.
That's 3 stock exchanges.
I'm sure. While you're waiting for that, right? We can
which means more stockbrokers are moving from those areas down there.
Conversation at hand. We can, we have constant distractions. We can actually move.
I mean, it's not distractions. It's just facts. You don't like the facts.
Which is to say. Oh, there's a super chat. I got to read that. Which is to say, that these industries aren't that people people try to fearmonger that these industries will just like up and disappear, that the rich people will abandon these cities, right? They haven't abandoned the city. Literally, the example I gave, right?
Is Charles Schwab do they sell stocks?
Abandon New York, right?
Do they sell? Do they do stockbroking?
What Gibbs tells us is that something moved from Chicago to Texas.
How about
right?
Charles Schwab?
Not New York.
How about Charles
Not
Schwab?
New York, right? But Chicago.
Oh, here's a specific example. Charles Schwab is a money management company that deals with stock brokerage, and they moved their headquarters to Texas in light of this happening. So you're just wrong. This is a fact.
Is New York still the center of the financial
It's changing.
world?
Yeah, it's getting pushed out.
I didn't say any company couldn't move.
No, you told me they weren't moving, and I said that they were moving, and because of the regulations in New York City are causing people to flee New York to better places like Dallas. And guess what? Dallas is on path right now and on track to eventually surpass them due to these terrible policies.
Yeah,
I mean, you can keep making these like faces and saying these things, but I can point to numerous companies moving. It's not a goalpost movie. Yeah, I mean, no, I didn't lose it badly at all. I'm the only one stating facts. I just listed another specific company. Your goalpost where stockbrokers weren't moving, and I just listed a specific stockbroker company. That's a dog. You lost. It's over. You lost. Keep crying. It's cool.
No one has said otherwise.
You were the one first. You want to talk about moving goalposts? You just said stockbrokers aren't moving, and I just listed a specific company that's a stockbroker company. No. You said nobody, and I listed a specific company and 3 different stock exchanges now moving to Dallas. You're just wrong. It's okay.
You're a fucking bullshitter.
It's okay.
Anyway,
it's wrong.
$10
You're wrong. It's fine.
Not so. Shut up for a second. Not so schizophrenic. $10. If Texas declared,
is that a shot at another content creator? Potentially?
I don't know.
Okay.
It says not so. I don't know. Oh,
well, there's another not so.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. If Texas declared independence from the United States and legalized cocaine to battle Mexico, should America first smite the Dallas Stock Exchange with JDM to attack the newfound drug dealers? I'll leave that up to the panel. Actually, I don't even know what the JDM is. Is that just like a aerial bombardment?
It's a bomb.
It's the bomb itself.
Yeah, it's the bomb itself. I forget what it stands for, but it's the bomb.
And legalized cocaine.
I feel like the bombs would be dropped as soon as Texas declared independence from America and try to do anything to actually enforce that. That's probably when the bombs.
That sounds like a good plan. It sounds like we need to get bring the Texans to heel at that point, right? If they got some crazy idea like that, so
what are your thoughts,
we might have to use a little bit of force, right? To bring Texas back, like we did the last time we smacked them down. When they tried that, then I would suggest doing that again. But any which way, to the tourism fake. I'm just going to bring in the rest of the panel for the remaining amount of time here. Is there something? Okay. Let me ask my conservative friends here, and then we can bring everyone else. Is there such thing as a destructive, profitable industry? Right? It's bringing in money, but it is problematic. I'll leave it open to you.
All of the motorcycle industry.
All drugs.
Good point.
Unironically, all drugs.
Sorry. Let's say legal. Let's limit it to legal for now.
Even legal drugs, tobacco, alcohol.
Okay. Well, then I'll let you guys do it. So yeah. So is there destructive, profitable, legal industries that we should ever prohibit? Like destructive to the point that we should inhibit their growth in any way.
I mean, I'm okay with banning private sales of nukes, so I guess that would affect the nuke industry.
What a loser.
I know. And then we have restrictions on age restrictions on alcohol and tobacco, which we should have because those industries are particularly destructive. So I don't want to ban obviously the more dangerous industry is, the more you can justify restricting it. But my thresholds are pretty damn high. Alcohol is particularly disruptive. I think I saw one study that.
What's your body count threshold? If it's 1 million deaths directly related to alcohol per year, and we can actually point to it, not just whatever It's correlated.
I mean, you have to compare that to like all the benefit that comes from alcohol, which is quite.
There's
bit.
no benefit. It's all perceived benefit.
There's negatives. There's negative. Look, I'm not gonna say there's no negatives. There are, right? I think it was like for every dollar the state gets in tax revenue from alcohol, they have to pay like 7 in like social costs or something crazy, some crazy ratio like that.
Rates of domestic violence will go down.
Yeah, rates of
precipitously.
domestic violence, drunk driving, just crime generally. I mean, if you've I was a public defender for a while. I'm telling you, like, alcohol, a lot of that shit is because they got drunk and made a bad decision.
Including
so-
lawyers, I'm sure.
Yeah, true. Not so much. Most of it's, I mean, and this is partially controlling for the fact that it's the public defenders. But most of the time it's, poor people get some booze, drink a whole bunch of booze, trespass, break a window, destroy something, get in a fight, do fights all the time. And any bouncer will tell you this, right? Dealing with drunk people, like really drunk people who are aggressive, it's like dealing with children, right? That they'll big children that can punch you. And sexual assault, that's very commonly associated with alcohol. There's a lot of negatives.
So if it was like
But-
every $1, so from going with your numbers, if it's every $1, it costs $7. If it gets up to like 10 or like $15, is that enough of a cost for you?
There's some number. I don't know what it is. There is some number where like something can be so costly and so destructive that you just have to ban it. But I don't think any drug, like even illegal drug, is currently hits that threshold. I'd be okay.
You don't think
with,
alcohol
like,
is even close? Like even if it doubles or triples? Okay.
No, I'd be okay with more restrictions on it that like make sense to like target like the problem. So like age restrictions, restricting people who have like criminal histories from having it, like restricting like making sure people can't sell to people with criminal histories, like figuring out some way of like limiting it more. That's probably what I would do before I ban it wholesale, because I do think it's something that like responsible adults can enjoy. And I think most people who, despite the fact that yes, there's a lot of stories, most people who drink are not criminals, right? Because alcohol is very popular, right? Most people in America drink.
Well, there's
in
many
one
things
way
that
or
are very
another.
that's a bad argument. Like,
Well, but I mean to point that like, yes, you have a whole bunch of examples of like people doing bad shit while drunk, but then you look at that number and it is dwarfed by the overall alcohol consumption. It's like if everybody does something, yeah, you're going to find like a large group of people who misuse it. But that doesn't mean it's like enough of a problem to ban it if there's so many people can use it responsibly. The vast majority of people
sure,
can
I don't
use it
disagree
responsibly.
by that, but you're saying that sort of like everyone does it is not obviously a justification.
Yeah, everybody doing it in of itself is not a justification. The only reason I said that is like to compare that.
To extrapolate with the numbers, that I understand.
Yeah,
Okay,
yes.
sure,
That's the only
fair.
reason why I brought that up. So non-alcohol, and definitely not tourism, or Airbnb. But like, if you invented some kind of super meth or like, Flocka meth or something, I don't know. You could come up with something where it's like you
Flocka?
take.
Flocka?
I don't know. I don't know. Like, I don't do that shit. But like,
That's
if you like some chemist like invented a drug where like you snort
I'm
it
on it.
and then you turn into like I'm gonna eat your face and then that's all you did and like running around like a zombie. Maybe
The rage
that one-
virus from 28 days later.
Yeah. The rage virus in
Flocka,
28
true.
days.
They
I'd
they
be
have
okay with
that.
banning that. I'd be okay with saying, hey, sorry, you can't do the
Courageous.
28 the 28 days after rage virus. We're gonna have to restrict that, unfortunately, to have a society. My apologies. Anyway, that's my answer.
It's a reasonable answer in your world.
Prime is still right. So she was looking over like information from 2025. New York Post, an NYC retains title of world's wealthiest city, despite CEO warnings of high crime and filth. New York City is still the top of the heap when it comes to the world's wealthiest cities, despite recent warnings from Wall Street that the Big Apple's sharp drop in quality of life could prompt the massacres of businesses from the area. The city retained the top ranking in list of the world's top 50 cities with the largest concentration of millionaires, according to the latest World's Wealthiest Cities Report 2025. New York City maintains its crown, topping the global rankings with 384,500 millionaires, including 818 centimillionaires and 66 billionaires. The report found, right?
Well, that's interesting.
I don't know where Doobie stacks in there. As,
well, hold on. The claim was originally
years.
The claim was stockbrokers are moving to Texas.
1 second. No.
Hold on, that was the claim. Hold on, that was the claim. And then
I'm still not finished talking because I'm going to.
Okay, go ahead. But then I'm going to go.
I said specifically, right? Like over the past 20 years, there's been an increase in millions and billionaires. Whenever in this period of time where we've had what's his face, the tall mayor, Bill de Blasio. Where we were warned, oh my God, any second, they're all going to flee, right? They're going to flee because of these regulations put in place, because of these taxes put in place. Remember, that was my original claim, right? My original claim that started this whole conversation, right, was that we were told these individuals were going to flee, but they didn't.
And then you said, no stockbrokers are moving to Texas. And Charles Schwab acquired TD Ameritrade, and they are one of the biggest stockbrokerage firms, and they moved their headquarters to Dallas.
I didn't say no stock. Hold on.
We can check the tape, but yeah, you said that.
You're trying to move the goalpost, right?
No, you're moving the goalpost. Nobody said anything about wealth.
My original comment. What did I not say that? Hey, when regulations increase or taxes increase, right? That there is a claim among the Wall Street Journal, among Fox Business and CNBC, that the rich will flee the city, right? Was that not my original claim?
That was not your claim. My claim, the claim that was made.
Then you're fucking lying.
No, the claim. Rewind it. The claim was. I literally brought up. Hold on. I literally brought up that Dallas was overtaking New York as a major stock exchange center, and then I said stockbrokers are moving to Texas, and your claim was there's no stockbrokers moving to Texas. They have to all these residual infrastructure that can't be recreated, and then I said, hold on, all this other bullshit, and then specifically, and I'm bringing up Charles Schwab, which just acquired TD Ameritrade, and they're one of the largest stockbrokers in the world. Moved to Dallas in 2021 in Denton County, and so in Austin and Westlake, and guess what? They moved there, and now we have 3 different stock exchanges moving into Texas. One a Texas solely backed one a New York Stock Exchange moving from a 146-year-old institution in Chicago, and now NASDAQ is opening up one in Dallas. So that's 3, and so that obviously means the claim that stockbrokers are moving to Texas is valid, and which I win. It's easy. That is it.
Nice try. Okay.
No, I mean, there's no try. That's a simple breakdown.
My original claim, proven correct, right? That literally,
and they specifically cited the regulations in
millionaires and billionaires have increased in the past 20 years. I gave it a small time frame. Past 20 years, right? And all the time, where those exact types were complaining about how is it going to.
I never brought up billionaires or billionaires ever. Right? That's never even coming up.
I wish they did, right? Send them all to Dallas. Great, love it. Like Dallas they can be Dallas's problem and not New York City's problem. We'll love it, right? But they haven't. Instead, right, under the socialist Mayor Bill de Blasio, excuse me, the numbers have increased, right? And it continues to increase every year. It just keeps going up. So, like I said, despite the policy changes, the wealth still stays because in New York, right, they have not only infrastructure is one thing, right, and I stand by that, right. New York Stock Exchange is still in New York. It turns out, wow. But they also have like the nightlife, the prestige, the restaurants, the whatever, right? All the things that are New York, right? Those things aren't in Dallas. A lot of people have moved to Dallas, right? There's been an influx into Dallas. So like just among regular individuals, sorry, not just Dallas, sorry. I mean, Texas in general. I'm not sure about Dallas in particular. But Texas in general has had an increase, right? And they've been coming to places like California, right? And New York, right? Because the price of living is higher there. And so they've changed it. So that's been true more for the lower ends of the spectrum, right? Because a lot of people can't afford. And some businesses have moved as well, right? Which I never denied ever, right? Have moved there. But
you understand that Charles Schwab is the biggest stockbroker, right? They're the biggest one, and they moved to Dallas.
Yeah, but hold on. Is the New York Stock Exchange? Is the center?
Oh, so you hold on to the claim that they're not moving to Dallas is bullshit.
Hold on. And my original claim: have the rich abandon New York City.
They're abandoning it. Yeah,
It's still growing.
the stockbrokers are abandoning it.
Oh yeah. Sure.
So hold on, when the biggest stockbroker moves to another city and puts their headquarters there, that's not stockbrokers moving.
Are they still doing? Hold on. If you can move your headquarters somewhere, right? Like just like in how
and where do they pay? Okay, you pay your taxes where your headquarters are, correct?
I'm thinking of Delaware. Sorry.
Hold on, you pay taxes where your headquarters is based, right?
Has like the most headquarters of any area, right? Of any state, the most headquarters of Fortune 500 companies or companies in general, right? And they all are run out of this like tiny little like a building, like one store building out in Bumfuck, Delaware. You know how that works, right? Because they have those low.
That's not true. Texas, it goes California, Texas, New York.
Just because that's their headquarters, the headquarters are listed, doesn't mean that's even where the main amount of work is done, right? The main amount of work is still
building giant campuses,
else, right? And anywhere else, and again, it doesn't matter.
You just don't know what you're talking about.
Refute my original claim that the millionaires and billionaires haven't abandoned New York City.
No one even talked about millionaires and billionaires. We wouldn't have been arguing if you had said that, but nobody said that. We talked about stockbrokers and taking over for the stock exchange. That's what we were talking about.
That was my original claim. Go back in the VOD. Go back in the VOD. And tell me that's not, I didn't say that, right? Okay. If you go back in the VOD and show, yeah, Prime didn't say, he didn't mention the Wall Street Journal, he didn't mention the Fox Business, or he didn't mention MSNBC talking about them saying that the rich will abandon them. Try that. Try it.
Your claim to me was when we started arguing was that stockbrokers aren't moving to Texas. That was the claim that I have been objecting to the entire time. No, that's been the claim I've been making the whole time.
That was your counterclaim.
Okay.
Why would you bring it up? You didn't bring it out of
nowhere. Because specifically, hold on, the reason we got brought up, if you recall, was because you and Lactoid were arguing about regulations, and I cited that these companies, like Charles Schwab, a major stock exchange, the largest stockbroker, is putting their headquarters in Dallas, along with now 3, which I didn't say this originally, I said 1, but it's actually 3 different stock exchanges going to be up in Dallas, and they moved there specifically, and this is a direct quote from a spokesperson, Charles Schwab, was because due to over-regulation in New York. And I mentioned that some of those regulations include things like rent control. That's how we got on this subject. And you objected to the idea that stockbrokers were moving to Dallas, which is what is happening whenever they move a 146-year-old institution in Chicago to Dallas. We have an independent one opening and a third one in NASDAQ moving down to Dallas. Yeah. That's what's happening. And Charles Schwab moved there.
Third one in NASDAQ.
Once again, my original claim has not been refuted at all. In fact, proven by the New York Post, by the liberal rag, the New York Post. Okay. Any which way, I appreciate you all. I appreciate all of you, even and especially Gibbs, because we end up going through doing the fights all the time. I appreciate your point of view, and we can, I guess, agree this is all Lactoid's fault.
I believe that.
True.
Yeah,
usually.
Great. Specifically because he's white. But anyway, thank you all for being here. And putting up with our usual fights. Hey guys, if you want to support the channel, consider helping out like our friends did on YouTube. I appreciate the few people who well, the 2 people really who gave those super chats. So thank you for those who assisted, support the stream. Much appreciated. You guys are fantastic. Consider subbing to the channel, getting bits of getting subs in YouTube if you appreciate this, or resubbing. But thanks to everyone. Yeah, thank you for making this a good conversation. Like I really wanted to have this discussion. I really wanted to focus it more on the tourism thing, but like as always with this group is uncontrollable. But it's a good group because even like a small regional discussion like the one we were having, right? We can turn it into a grand discussion, no matter what, right? Always we manage to do it. And again, it's thanks to people like Gibbs, right, who are always willing to challenge, always up for the smoke, right? Every goddamn time. I appreciate you, friend. Yeah. All right. So I'll give an outro to all these kind individuals, and then yeah, we'll head out. Thank you, Lactoid, for being great. And I was going to say I didn't because Gibbs started arguing with me. But I didn't get to say that I can give you that this is a form of rent control, like the thing that I was suggesting, right? It's a form of rent control. That's fine, right? I can do that. I've found sources that say that these are bad. But like we can talk more about that later on, right? But sure, a form of rent control that I am at this point until proven otherwise perfectly fine with. But rent control it is. Thank you so much, Lactoid.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me on. Gives your hot micing a little bit again.
It's not me.
Somebody does.
Corey.
Was that Corey? Corey.
Yep, he has charged as
Corey, the
usual. I got the
So
same
rank-
mechanical keyboard as Lactoid. He recommended it. to me.
True. It's a great keyboard. I took off my little number pad. It's totally useless. Rank control. If there's anything we can draw out of this, it's a couple things. First of all, to the topic specifically, don't try to destroy your own industries because you're this is bullshit, this is unfair. Those industries are critically important for the people living there. It makes up large segments of their economy, and there are a lot of effects that you're going to feel if you remove or you make it more difficult for those industries to thrive. There's a reason why one of the best ways for a region, especially a more kind of stereotypical third world region, to thrive is by establishing industry, is by creating an economy, is by becoming a contributor to the world economy, and then reaping the benefits of that. As to the question of rent control, I'm just going to repeat myself a little bit on this. I'm a right-wing libertarian, and I understand that oftentimes my policies revolve not around like the idea of equity, but revolve more around the idea of liberty, individualism, consent, and efficiency, things like that. With rent control, it's not even really ideological. I know that there tends to be a correlation between left-wing, like far left people, and liking rent control. But I feel like a lot of the love of rent control from the far left isn't really rooted in actual economic theory. It's just rooted in anger towards what they perceive as the rich people. These fucking rich people, they have the property, and they're charging us a bunch of money. The reason why I say rent control is not really all that ideological is because it's just a broken policy. It's just bad. If you are a far left communist and you want to, you want to have a equitable society, you want the poor taken care of, etc., then there are policies that you can do that I would oppose you on, and I would hate them, but they would actually accomplish the goal, right? They would actually accomplish the goal of providing housing for lower income people. And that's public housing. Like that is, I mean, the Soviets fucking did this. They built these massive blocks, and it is like you can provide housing for people if that's what you want to do. Rent control is uniquely poisonous because it purports to be something that helps people afford housing, but it limits housing supply long term, causing housing shortages and a overall increase in the cost of housing, overall harming the residents of that area. It's just not good. So please don't support it. I know some politicians are saying, hey, let's bring it back. A big part of that is because it's super easy to propose. Oh, let's just do this. But there's a reason why even left-wing economists don't like it. It's just a bad policy. Final thing I want to say, gentrification. We talked about the moral principle of like, do people have a right? Like, does the blood have a right to the soil? Do the people living there have a right to live there because they happen to live there? I don't think so. But there's also this weird hypocrisy that happens where, at least in the United States, we talk about gentrification in the racial context. And when white people leave an area, it's called white flight. And it's criticized as pulling a lot of money, pulling a lot of industry, pulling a lot of wealth from areas, hollowing them out. They use that term, hollowing out inner cities and causing economic destitution. and it was horrific, right? This was horrible. And when white people move in and they, and they bring money, it's called, oh, well, they're going to raise the rent, they're going to raise it back up high, they're going to bring industry, they're going to do this, other people are going to move in, and it's called gentrification, and it's bad. I'm sorry. If sometimes to have a dynamic economy, people have to move. Just move forehead is honestly the solution to a lot of issues. And it sucks, right? Sometimes life sucks. Sometimes you got to move. But the insecurity that somebody has with moving is not a reason to stop economic growth in an area for decades. If you like what I had to say, you can find me at Lactoid TV.
I appreciate you, Lactoid. And I, like I said previously, the topic of gentrification, which we've gone over, a few times, right? It's coming over. I think it's a sticky one. It's a hard one for me in particular. I go back and forth on that one a lot, actually. I think you just now, I think you made like really good points there. I just think there might be a more equitable way of even handling that transition in a way that doesn't just leave people out in the streets. But that's fair. And last thing on that, yes, I am in favor of all those left-wing policy recommendations for dealing with housing, right, including massive public housing blocks, right, which are mixed for mixed income, not low income like we did here in the States. Awful idea. But also we can, limit the blight of short-term rentals in some ways. So there's some ways we can do it, right? Tax policy here and there, right? We could just limit them, right? We can make it less profitable. We can do that. We can do all kinds of things with tax policies. It's amazing, right? But the IRS is your friend. Thank you so much. And before we go to our friend Gibbs, not so schizophrenic, says, gee, feels like I'm watching Texas and New York battle out in some kind of second civil war. Anyone fancy a tapeworm for a snack? Anyone? I don't know what the last one is a reference to.
Sushi.
But
we were talking about tapeworms earlier, remember? In the Mexico.
Okay. But how does that relate to the other thing?
I don't know.
I think they're doing a callback to.
It's a callback.
Okay, maybe they're just doing a callback. Okay, well, shout out to your callback.
I know,
And
they're not so schizophrenic, so just put it out there.
And if I represent New York and Gibbs represent Texas, well, he's going to win because he's far more well armed than I am. So I give up already. I surrender. Please, thank you so much for the $5. Not so schizophrenic. Thank you for the kindness. And Gibbs, please.
Yeah, I always enjoy coming. Thanks for letting me be here, Brian. It's always fun to argue with people that can handle the arguments and not say slurs and get you banned off streams. That's always a big thing that I like. Secondly, God bless Texas. I do want to say one thing. I would think after all the times my predictions have come true now, from the serious to the outlandish, y'all would just start giving these predictions more stock. We lost Prime. He's gone. But yeah, that's my closing thoughts on that.
He didn't give himself an outro.
Yeah, he's gone. But I'm excited for TwitchCon. You'll be check it out. We're gonna be doing some wild stuff. I'm pretty excited to see people there. If you see me out there, let's do some shots, and it'll be good times. Thank you so much, Prime, if you're still here.
I guess I'll go.
He's back. He's back.
All right.
And he's gone.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, Prime, for inviting me on. Super grateful, as always. You can find me on Twitch, CoreyCam84, Twitter, X, YouTube, Instagram. It's and Substack. It's Corey Campbell. And I also want to wish my fellow Canadian Lactoid a happy Canadian Thanksgiving. And yeah, Doobie, Ali, Gibbs, Lactoid, always a pleasure. And love you, Prime, wherever you are.
Somewhere.
He's back.
Somewhere. Okay. StreamYard does a thing I don't like, and it pisses me off. It will toss me off all the. Okay, we're just gonna have to deal with that.
StreamYard racist?
I haven't seen it toss. Well, actually, you know what? The only other person that toss off like that is fucking Ali, right? Yeah, actually,
so it is racist.
But shout out to my friend Ali. I know you wanted to do this way back when. It was a long time ago. You said you wanted to talk about this topic, and you were disappointed when we didn't end up talking about it. I'm not sure if you even remember that, but That literally your words about like doing this topic stuck in my mind. I'm like, I gotta get back to this topic one day. So
All
hopefully
right.
you enjoyed that.
Yeah, no, I do. I think we never talk about like the unintended consequences, and we kind of just like put them to the side, especially when it comes to like broke people, right? Whether it be automation or gentrification or whatever, it's always like, they could just go somewhere else. Eventually, we're gonna lose, like, we're gonna run out of places to put these people, and we're gonna have to deal with the problem at hand, which is, hey, we're just fucking over relatively large swaths of our citizens, right? Like our people that we should be one, looking out for, but two, it's beneficial if these people are working and thriving and making money and not broke, right? It benefits us to not have so many poor people or so many people who feel like they're about to go into being poor. But with that being said, economists are giant pussies, right? It's just like, Jesus Christ, like, sit at your house and like all day talk about how people like these people can't afford their lives because of this. It's like, listen, man, just stop doing that. Stop being such giant pussies. Go out and try to get pussy, and then you'll see how like the world and real economics works. But with that being said, thank you for having me, Prime. I really appreciate it, boys. Thank you for arguing, and hopefully we'll see you next Monday.
Yeah, hey, how many poor economists have you met, right? Usually these guys are wealthy. They don't get it. They
Yeah.
don't understand, right? Yeah, it's rich people saying, "Oh, God, these policies are bad," right? The ones that hurt me. Ooh, yeah, right? Yeah. Ollie gets it, right? Lactoid's like, "Oh, yeah, I
Can I
guess
say
I
one
should just
thing?
listen to the rich." Just kidding.
I think, oh, fuck these economists, they're all pussies.
Yeah.
That's like the famous last words of every communist dictator right before they destroy their entire country's economy.
Hey. Okay, I agree with you, Lacto. That's my actual opinion. I do agree with you there, right? So you would agree that's disaster that Trump fired the head of Bureau of Labor Statistics because he didn't like the
And he's not
numbers they're
listening to
producing?
economists.
Yeah, right. And
Or at
trying
least
to
the
replace the
consensus of
economists within the Federal Reserve, doing everything. You would say that would be like
Pretty bad, yeah.
a sign
I'll
of
send you a tweet. Look,
disaster.
because I follow the evidence, and economists like pretty universally, for very good reason, say tariffs are bad. I'll send you every tweet that I've made about how Trump's tariffs are bad.
Do that. I'll read them while touching myself. All right. Thank you so much, Lactoid. Much appreciated. Let's go to our friend Doobie. So happy he was here. We couldn't have done it without Doobie, right? He added Mexican color commentary to the whole proceedings, right? A bit of cultural flavor that us Northerners couldn't have added ourselves. Because of his deep connection to the culture, to the people, to the land, to the air, to the food, apparently as well, right? To the water. Thank you, Doobie, for adding all that. I didn't want to do this without you. And Doobie, you came through. So shout out to my friend.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Thank you, my Mexican correspondent. Okay. We are going to try to raid out to someone. I was too busy yelling at Lactoid to figure out. Once again, Lactoid's fault. I forgot where I'm going to raid. Let's see. Do we have any attractive? Wait a minute. Is she wearing a straw hat? No. Okay, that's not it.
Thank you for having me.